Chapter 2480. I see. The Sky class seemed to have something in mind after hearing Chi-Chi's words. It was no wonder, though. He'd been trading for it for a long time without getting anything out. Of course, it was because he only wanted something from a water element Sky class, but it was also because other people didn't need something from an earth element Sky class. Otherwise, if someone really needed it, they would have done everything they could to find out about a water element Sky class. So, you agree to the trade? Chi-Chi asked, a little excited. Let me think about it. The heaven-rank cultivator hesitated for a moment before saying, "This matter is of great importance. Go take a look somewhere else first and come find me later." Alright, think about it. Chi-Chi was overjoyed. The Sky class didn't say yes, but he didn't say no either. There was hope if he wanted to think about it. With that, Chi-Chi stood up and followed Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa. Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa didn't say it out loud, but they both knew what Chi-Chi was thinking. In fact, Chi-Chi was hesitating as well. How was she going to deal with Lin Yi? How was she going to get the crystal back from Lin Yi? The corner of his eyes caught Chi-Chi's shifty gaze, and he felt a little helpless. This cool girl really lacked social experience, wasn't she? Her intentions were written all over her face. Wasn't she afraid that he'd be on guard against her? Chi-Chi couldn't think of a good way to get the crystal back from Lin Yi. Since she couldn't trick him, she'd have to steal it. Chi-Chi hesitated for a long time, and as if she'd made a big decision, she suddenly walked over and grabbed Lin Yi's arm. She spoke to Lin Yi in a sweet voice. "Thank you for your help earlier, hero. Otherwise, I really would have been bullied by that scrawny guy." Lin Yi almost laughed out loud at Chi-Chi's sudden action. This cool chick was really indescribable. Although the voice was very sweet, Lin Yi could clearly hear the resistance and unwillingness in it, as well as a faint trace of fear. The arm that was holding him was also trembling. Come to think of it, this cool girl had never seduced a man before. Today, in order to steal the blue crystal, this was the first time. However, her acting skills were too bad. Lin Yi saw through her plot at a glance. If it was someone else he didn't know. Lin Yi had gotten rid of her a long time ago, but this was young Chi-Chi, someone who had a lot of interactions with Lin Yi. Lin Yi's feelings towards her were a mix of love and hate. Sometimes he thought she was a cute, cool girl, and other times he thought she was a bitch who repaid kindness with enmity. Looking at Chi-Chi's distant figure, Lin Yi couldn't help but feel playful. He wanted to prank Chi-Chi a little, and so he reached out his hand. He put an arm around Chi-Chi's shoulder and smiled. "Ah, you're too polite. This is what chivalrous people like us should do." "Ah." Chi-Chi shivered. She didn't expect Lin Yi to be this daring, hugging her. But Chi-Chi couldn't resist. She was the one who seduced Lin Yi first, and Lin Yi was just going with the flow. Wouldn't everything be for nothing if she resisted? Chi-Chi felt that it was humiliating to seduce Lin Yi, but when she thought about it, she didn't mind sacrificing a little. For little Joe, a little sacrifice was nothing. It wasn't real anyway. He'd kill Lin Yi after he achieved his goal. This guy wasn't a good person anyway, he was a big bully. What's wrong? Lin Yi could see Chi-Chi's nervousness, but pretended like he didn't know. "It's nothing." Chi-Chi gritted her teeth as she moved her body closer to Lin Yi's side, her other hand reaching out. With her other hand, she was ready to reach into Lin Yi's backpack and steal the blue crystal. Of course, Chi-Chi wasn't a master thief, and it would be hard for her to steal something from Lin Yi's backpack. If Lin Yi was alerted, that would be troublesome. All she could do now was compromise. Haha, as long as it's nothing. Lin Yi took Chi-Chi's hand and started groping from her armpit to her chest. Chi-Chi's body froze as she glared at Lin Yi. She was about to go berserk and fight Lin Yi, but Lin Yi didn't seem to notice her stare. He looked in another direction. It wasn't that Lin Yi was faking it. Lin Yi suddenly felt a resentful gaze on him. Lin Yi wanted to act like he didn't know anything, but Lin Yi looked in the direction of the resentful gaze and saw someone who shocked him. "You Xiaoka? Why was she here?" Lin Yi paused. Xiaoka was surprised to see Lin Yi looking in her direction. Did he notice her? She was wearing a mask, wasn't she? The male thief was wearing a mask, so naturally Xiaoka would recognize him. But could he recognize her now? Was it because Lin Yi noticed that she was looking at him, or did Lin Yi recognize her? Xiaoka wasn't sure, but when Lin Yi turned his head again, she felt a little dejected, so he didn't recognize her. Lin Yi of course recognized Xiaoka. He smiled bitterly in his heart, thinking that no one would recognize the mask he took out casually. He didn't expect Xiaoka to be here as well. What a coincidence. But Lin Yi didn't want to reveal his identity, so he wore the mask. He didn't want people to know that he was buying large amounts of yellow jade, blue crystal, and colored steel. Plus, Lin Yi had quite a grudge with the Cultivator Trading Association. Although the vice chairman didn't look like he wanted to pursue the matter, Lin Yi could see the ruthlessness in his eyes. If there was a chance to backstab him, he wouldn't let it go. So at this time, being too close to Xiaoko wasn't a good thing. He might even drag her down with him. Plus, Lin Yi could roughly guess Xiaoko's purpose for coming here. Lin Yi didn't believe that Xiaoko was here to trade. This greedy girl used all her valuables to subsidize the orphanage. Where would she get the money to trade in the market? Her purpose here was most likely to steal and see if there was a chance to make a fortune. This way it would be even harder for Lin Yi to recognize her. If Xiaoko stole something, he would be implicated as well. As for Yang Qiqi and Han Xiaopa, there was nothing he could do. They were involved and they couldn't run away even if they wanted to. Lin Yi could only bring them along. Chapter 2481. When Lin Yi turned his head, Qiqi was in a dilemma. Should she break free from Lin Yi's clutches and leave, or should she endure it? After weighing the pros and cons, Qiqi decided to endure it. She had to for Lil 9. But in her heart, she was cursing Lin Yi 1,000 times, wishing that Lin Yi would step on a rock and fall to his death. What's wrong? Lin Yi turned his head to Qiqi, pinching her chest a couple of times. Ah! Qiqi gasped, almost going crazy. She held it in. It's nothing. There's a lot of people here, it's not good. Oh, it's nothing. Lin Yi said nonchalantly, his actions getting more and more reckless. Han Xiaopa's face was full of question marks. Lin Yi wasn't usually this lecherous. He'd interacted with Lin Yi a lot already, and while there were plenty of beauties around him, Lin Yi would never do something this perverted. Could it be revenge? Han Xiaopa understood instantly. He wasn't an idiot. Qiqi had wanted to trade the blue crystal with a sky class practitioner for the blood of an earth elemental sky class. But where would she have the crystal? Wasn't it in Lin Yi's hands? With that, everyone knew what she was planning. She'd come to seduce Lin Yi to get the blue crystal back from Lin Yi, and Lin Yi had probably figured out Qiqi's intentions as well. Han Xiaopa shook his head and smiled coldly inwardly. This girl had a great body, but she was underestimating Boss Lin Yi too much. Boss Lin Yi had a lot of women around him, and there was no way she could compare to Yushu in terms of body. How about, I go to your room tonight? Qiqi asked. Ah, sure. But we'll talk about tonight. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't let go of a good opportunity like this. Lin Yi wasn't a pervert, but he was a normal person too. Qiqi often bit the hand that fed her, and Lin Yi didn't mind teaching her a lesson. Qiqi was helpless. She could only let Lin Yi touch her. She wanted to kill Lin Yi right now, but she couldn't hide the shyness in her eyes, looking as if she was enjoying it. It was as tragic as one could imagine. After walking around and making sure that there wasn't anything he needed, Lin Yi lost interest. Qiqi, on the other hand, was panicking. Being teased by Lin Yi like this wasn't a good thing. Not only was she pissed off, but she was also letting down her little Yi bro. But there was nothing she could do. All she could do was kill Lin Yi after the deed was done. But thinking back to how strong Lin Yi was, Qiqi didn't think that she was a match for him at all. If she were a match for Lin Yi, she wouldn't have to be bullied by that skinny guy. She was worried about losing him. Yang Qiqi had no choice but to endure it. Xiaopa, when's the auction? Lin Yi asked. According to the usual schedule. Tomorrow it should be. There's a free hotel for people to stay in at night. Han Xiaopa said. Boss, do you have anything you want to auction? We can put it up for auction. Yes. The pills Lin Yi had weren't very useful to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi didn't have the time to set up a stall here to trade with others. Exchanging it for money was the simplest way. And so Lin Yi said, then we'll put it up for auction first. All right. Han Xiaopa nodded and volunteered to lead the way. He knew more about the market than Lin Yi. Qiqi, on the other hand, was overjoyed. She wondered if she'd have a chance to steal the blue crystal when Lin Yi put it up for auction. Han Xiaopa brought Lin Yi away from the market and came to a secluded courtyard. At the entrance of the courtyard, there were law enforcement disciples patrolling the area. Who are you? What are you doing? This is the office of the Cultivator Trade Association. If there's nothing else, please leave. One of the disciples said to Lin Yi's group. Oh, we're here to put it up for auction. How do we go through the procedures? Han Xiaopa knew a lot about the cultivator market, but the hidden house Han didn't do business before. In order not to attract attention, they wouldn't come here to put it up for auction. So Han Xiaopa only knew the general situation. Of course you can put it up for auction. Come with me. The disciple nodded. It wasn't that there weren't any cultivators who came here to auction things, but there weren't many. Most cultivators preferred to set up stalls outside in the form of free trade. In this way they could directly barter and see if there was anything they needed. However, the only thing they could get from the auction was money. But just because there were few didn't mean there weren't any. For example, the people from the hidden house you would often put up some pills for auction. After all, hidden houses needed a lot of money to operate. After entering the side courtyard, Lin Yi's group was led to a room. There was a man dressed like an ancient pawnshop who was arranging something. When he saw the law enforcement disciple bring people in, he asked directly, "Do you have something to put up for auction?" Here Lin Yi didn't see the vice president of Heaven's stage. A vice president should be in charge here. He couldn't do these small things by himself. But this way Lin Yi was relieved. He was afraid that the vice president would abuse his power for personal revenge and tamper with the auction price. "Yes, I have some pills to put up for auction." Lin Yi nodded. As he said that, he took the backpack behind him, opened it, and placed several small bottles in front of the pawnshop man. "Pills?" The pawnshop man was surprised when he saw the things Lin Yi took out. "Are you from the hidden house you?" "No." Lin Yi shook his head. "Do you need to ask for the identity of the auctioneer when you auction here?" "That's not it." The pawnshop man shook his head embarrassedly and said, "It's just that only the people from the hidden house you use to auction pills. You know that this cultivator's market is a small scale. The heavenly elixir sect absolutely doesn't want it, so we only have one source of pills before. Suddenly someone came to auction pills. I subconsciously thought that you were also from the hidden house you." "Hee, then what are the rules of the auction?" asked Lin Yi. "Auction. According to the rules, we will take 20% of the total transaction price of the auction item. So, you have to consider this factor when you set the price. Don't lose money," said the pawnshop man. Chapter 2482. "But these elixirs of yours, small chi gathering pill, small circulation pill, meridian unblocking pill, and some spirit gathering pills have been auctioned countless times. Because they were all supplied by the hidden house of you, the starting price is the same every time, and the final transaction price is about the same. There won't be much fluctuation. So, if you feel that you are losing money, you can choose to give up." The reason why the pawnbroker said so much was that he was afraid that the cost of Lin Yi's alchemy would be too high, and the final transaction price would be a loss. "What is the general starting price and final transaction price?" Lin Yi asked. "There is a record here. I'll find it for you to see." The pawnbroker skillfully took out a list from a pile of documents and handed it to Lin Yi. Yang Qiqi, on the other hand, was quite surprised. Lin Yi had brought out so many pills to auction. He really was a man of goods. If it weren't for the fact that she really needed the blue crystal for little Jio's treatment, she would have asked for it all back. Lin Yi didn't have the time to guess Yang Qiqi's thoughts. He took the list from the pawnbroker and looked at it carefully. However, he sucked in a cold breath when he saw it. Seeing Lin Yi's subconscious shock, the pawnbroker smiled and said, "The hidden house of you produces elixirs in bulk. Their price naturally has an advantage. If you don't think it's worth it, don't sell it." He was obviously doing it on purpose. The price on the list was too low in Lin Yi's eyes. However, he misunderstood. Lin Yi looked at the price on the list and sighed secretly. The profit of this elixir business was really huge. No wonder the hidden house of you didn't care about the medical business in the secular world. It couldn't be compared with this. Here, the transaction price of an elixir was more than 10 million. It was a sky-high price. The 20 elixirs that Lin Yi brought were sold for more than 200 million. Where else could he find such a profitable business? Although the materials needed for these elixirs were precious, it was at most a few million. If Lin Yi had the time, he could ask old man Lin to plant some at home. It was just that he didn't have the time, so he asked for it from the Yu family. After all, the ingredients for these elixirs were not particularly rare. The cost of first-grade and second-grade elixirs was actually not high. The only good thing about it was that it was often unsuccessful. However, this price was still lower than the transaction value of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Could it be that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was worth that much? Lin Yi was surprised that the Kong family would spare no effort to obtain the formula. They had the backing of the hidden Yu family, and they were still concerned about the formula. It was enough to show how precious the formula was. However, Lin Yi did not find anything precious or strange about the formula. "This price is fine. No problem." Lin Yi looked at the list. He said directly, "Oh." The pawnbroker was a little shocked, but he didn't ask much and just nodded. "All right, since that's the case, let's do the registration." "All right." Lin Yi nodded. It didn't take long for the procedures to be completed. Lin Yi didn't use his real name, only an auction number. This number would be used to participate in the auction as well, but he'd gotten it earlier than the others. Yang Qiqi wasn't Yu Xiaoka. She had no chance to snatch the blue crystal from Lin Yi's bag in front of everyone. She couldn't find a suitable opportunity even after Lin Yi put on his bag. She could only give up for now. The group walked out of the courtyard and Lin Yi noticed that Xiaoke was nearby. She seemed to be looking at a stall not far from them. She seemed to be looking at a stall not far away, but Lin Yi could see her eyes drifting over from time to time. He couldn't help but smile bitterly to himself. Yu Xiaoke's feelings were clear to Lin Yi. It was normal for her to be jealous after seeing him touching Yang Qiqi. However, Lin Yi didn't plan on letting Yang Qiqi go so easily. This girl was too irritating, biting the hand that fed her. Lin Yi punished her so that she would remember better in the future. Yang Qiqi saw that she couldn't stop Lin Yi from touching her, so she used her hands to touch Lin Yi. Of course, the main reason she touched Lin Yi was to steal the blue crystal from Lin Yi's backpack. Only with the blue crystal could she trade for the Earth Element Sky Class Spirit Beast blood. Who was Yu Xiaoke? She knew Yang Qiqi's goal. She was a thief by birth. How could she not see that Yang Qiqi wanted to be a thief? Yu Xiaoke was a little annoyed. Why was this male thief so perverted? Was he smitten by this hot girl in front of him? He didn't even know what she was trying to do? In Yu Xiaoke's impression, this male thief was a very smart man. His intelligence and alertness in the tomb were both extraordinary. Plus, if he wanted to be perverted, he could have done it with herself. It wasn't like she wouldn't let him touch herself. Why would he touch a girl who had bad intentions towards him? It wasn't long before it was time for dinner. Lin Yi, Han Xiaope, and Qiqi arrived at the hotel in the market. You had to pay for your food here, but the rooms were free, provided by the Practitioner Trade Association. In fact, this place wasn't open to the public at all. Other than when the practitioners' market was being held, it was always closed. The facilities here were all built for the sake of the market. There weren't many practitioners eating in the restaurant. Since this place was open all days, there was no need for everyone to eat at this time. Plus, most of the practitioners would just buy things and eat in their rooms, not sitting here. Lin Yi randomly ordered a few dishes and sat down. Did you find what you wanted to trade? I don't have anything to trade, I'm just here to take a look. Qiqi quickly said. Lin Yi didn't say anything else. Qiqi's acting was too bad, and perhaps she was the only one who didn't know that she'd already exposed her true thoughts. Yu Xiaoke was in the restaurant as well. She was panicking. Could this male thief in front of her be an impersonator? Otherwise the male thief didn't look like this. Could it be that the mask was fake? Seeing Qiqi fumbling around in Lin Yi's backpack, Yu Xiaoke panicked. What if this guy really was a male thief? And so, Xiaoke had no choice. She bought a boxed meal and sat beside Lin Yi's table. The most common food here was the bento box. In fact, these bento boxes were mostly given to the staff of the cultivator market and the law enforcement hall disciples for free. Very few cultivators would buy them. Practitioners weren't poor, so why would they buy a boxed meal? Someone like Yu Xiaoke who lived frugally was naturally different. Chapter 2483. Xiaoke's sudden arrival startled Qiqi, and she quickly retracted her hand that was rummaging through Lin Yi's backpack. She glared at Xiaoke, annoyed. What was wrong with this person? She didn't recognize them and there were so many seats around them. Why did she have to sit next to them? Wasn't she just being annoying? But Xiaoke was already sitting next to them and Qiqi couldn't just kick her out, could she? Helplessly, Qiqi could only give up and look for other opportunities. Ahem. Xiaoke turned her head to look at Lin Yi, and realized that Lin Yi didn't seem to notice her. She coughed twice. Qiqi was waiting for Xiaoke to sit down and eat, and she wanted to find a chance to make a move, but Xiaoke suddenly coughed twice, giving her a fright. Her heart almost fell out of her chest, and she quickly retracted her hand. Lin Yi turned to Xiaoke helplessly, but Lin Yi didn't say anything after some hesitation. He knew that Xiaoke might have noticed something, but Lin Yi couldn't say anything in front of Qiqi. At that moment, Qiqi's phone rang. She took it out and looked at the caller ID. She quickly stood up and said to Lin Yi, "Young warrior, I'll go take this. Wait for me." With that, Qiqi walked quickly to a corner of the restaurant and carefully picked up the phone. With Qiqi gone, Xiaoke had some space to interact with Lin Yi. It's me." Xiaoke lowered her voice and hinted to Lin Yi, "It's me." Lin Yi was speechless. He didn't want to acknowledge Xiaoke at first because he didn't want to drag her into this. It wasn't that he was avoiding her, but now that Xiaoke had taken the initiative, Lin Yi couldn't act like he didn't know her anymore. "Flying Sparrow, it's been a while," Lin Yi said. Chapter 2484. The elixir had been put up for auction, and Lin Yi's bottle was still with him. Lin Yi wouldn't be stupid enough to put it in his backpack as well. What if Qiqi decided to steal it too? Lin Yi would be in big trouble. After doing all that, Lin Yi sat cross-legged on his bed, channeling the second stage of the art of dragon mastery as he waited for Chi-Chi's arrival. He guessed that Chi-Chi wouldn't be able to resist coming to his room soon, looking for a chance to steal the blue crystal. As expected, Lin Yi heard a knock on the door not long after. "Who is it?" Lin Yi said with a smile as he walked over. "It's me." Chi-Chi tried to make her voice sound seductive. She didn't know how to seduce men, but she'd seen it in dramas before. It wasn't too strenuous for her to do it now, but it was a little embarrassing. Fortunately, her face was covered and no one could see her face. Lin Yi opened the door and let Chi-Chi in. Chi-Chi closed the door after entering before turning to Lin Yi. "Young warrior, thank you so much for helping out today. I'd like to thank you in advance." Lin Yi was speechless. Which TV show did she see this way of speaking? But Lin Yi wasn't in the mood to tease her anymore. He only nodded. "It's nothing." Lin Yi's attitude towards her suddenly became a little cold and Chi-Chi's heart jumped. Why did Lin Yi not like her anymore? Wasn't he touching her chest like a pervert before? Why was he so indifferent when she threw herself into his arms? This change made Chi-Chi's heart skip a beat. She didn't know what made Lin Yi like this, but since she was already here, she couldn't just give up. She had to get the blue crystal back. She gritted her teeth and hugged Lin Yi, falling into Lin Yi's embrace. But Chi-Chi was thinking to herself, "For little Jio's illness I endured, but today's humiliation I will return it tenfold. Just you wait, when I become powerful the first thing I will take is your life." Lin Yi paused at Chi-Chi's sudden action, but understood the reason immediately. It was most likely because of his attitude. This conjecture. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although Lin Yi had his hands on Chi-Chi earlier, he'd at least shown that he was interested in her. This made it easier for Chi-Chi to get close to him and steal the blue crystal. But if Lin Yi wasn't interested in Chi-Chi, then Chi-Chi wouldn't have the chance to steal the crystal. Lin Yi pushed Chi-Chi away helplessly. He knew that Chi-Chi must be grinding her teeth in anger, but he had to put on a fawning front. This girl's heart was still very strong, but it was also what Lin Yi admired the most. She was the same as Xiaoke, having her own beliefs and stubbornness. Xiaoke was willing to give up a lot for the children in the orphanage and Chi-Chi was the same. She was willing to sacrifice herself for her friends. And so Lin Yi really couldn't bear to take advantage of her. At least the current Chi-Chi made Lin Yi feel that she wasn't that bad, and she wasn't that selfish. It was reasonable for him to steal the blue crystal. Looking at it from another angle, if someone stole his chance to cure Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi would probably do the same. "Haha, no rush. I'll go take a shower first." Lin Yi said this to create a chance for Chi-Chi to steal, letting her steal the blue crystal. Otherwise, with this cool girl's thieving skills, there was no chance of success at all. Lin Yi was already lax enough, but Xiaoke was different. The blue crystal was already in his hands. But Chi-Chi clearly wasn't an expert in this area, so Lin Yi went to take a shower and left her in the room to steal. "Okay." Chi-Chi heard Lin Yi's words and was overjoyed. This guy really was a big pervert. He still wanted to take a shower? It was obvious what he would do after a shower. "You deserve to lose your things. I'll steal the blue crystal after you take a shower." What a great opportunity. Chi-Chi naturally didn't know that Lin Yi was doing this on purpose. She didn't connect this person in front of her with the Lin Yi and Lin Yi from before. Lin Yi didn't say anything and walked into the bathroom. He locked the door and took off his clothes to take a shower. Chi-Chi heard the sound of water coming from the bathroom and was overjoyed. After a while, she made sure that Lin Yi was really taking a shower. Chi-Chi walked quickly to Lin Yi's backpack and started rummaging through it. The blue crystal was in Lin Yi's backpack. It wasn't hidden, so Chi-Chi saw it the moment she opened the backpack. Chi-Chi's hands were shaking as she carefully and quickly stole the blue crystal from Lin Yi's backpack. Her heart was racing. She had killed before, but she had no experience in stealing. Chi-Chi carefully put Lin Yi's backpack back to its original state and took a deep breath. She quickly put the blue crystal in her pocket. She didn't dare show it off in her hands. What if someone saw it and wanted to do something bad again? She'd be in big trouble. With that done, young Chi-Chi carefully made her way to the door. Xiaoke went back to her room and tidied up. She wanted to go to Lin Yi's room, but she didn't expect to see Chi-Chi sneaking into Lin Yi's room the moment she opened the door. At the same time, Xiaoke cursed Chi-Chi for being shameless. She really was a disgrace to the thief sections. She had to sacrifice her body to steal something. What a shame. Xiaoke didn't knock on the door right away. She didn't know what Lin Yi's goal was, and she was afraid that her appearance would interfere with Lin Yi's plans. So, she waited in the hallway for Chi-Chi to come out. If Chi-Chi succeeded, she'd help her steal the item. Xiaoke let out a sigh of relief when Chi-Chi opened the door not long after entering the room. She tiptoed out. Xiaoke knew that Lin Yi had a goal, but she wouldn't be happy if something really happened between Lin Yi and Qiqi. It wasn't that she was stingy, but it was reasonable. Especially with a girl like Qiqi who had a bad character. Xiaoke would be even more unhappy. Even if something happened, it should be with someone with high standards like her, right? And Qiqi came out not long after entering. Evidently, she didn't have time to do anything. Chapter 2485. Qiqi's clothes didn't look like anything had happened either. Qiqi could open the door without making any noise, but closing it from the outside wouldn't be possible. She didn't lock the door but left Lin Yi's door ajar as she tiptoed out of the room. But Qiqi saw Xiaoke walking towards her the moment she stepped out of the door. She jumped in fright and almost tripped. She didn't dare to look at Xiaoke straight in the eyes and quickly ran back to her room. How could Xiaoke not see the guilt in Qiqi's eyes? It seemed that she had stolen something. There was no way Xiaoke would let her take it away so easily. So when Qiqi walked past with her head lowered, Xiaoke consciously brushed past her and bumped into her. Qiqi felt guilty and wanted to go back to her room as soon as possible, so naturally she didn't want to talk to Xiaoke. Even if she knew that Xiaoke bumped into her on purpose, she could only accept it with a guilty conscience. Xiaoke pushed open Lin Yi's door and walked in, only to find that there was no one there. At the same time, she heard the sound of water coming from the washroom. Xiaoke understood now that Lin Yi was showering, and Qiqi must have used this time to steal something. As for why Lin Yi went to shower, that was obvious. Qiqi must have seduced Lin Yi and made him shower, and Qiqi used this time to steal something. Otherwise, with her skills, she wouldn't have been able to win against Lin Yi at all. At that thought, Xiaoke was even more troubled. The male thief was such a big pervert, taking the bait with just a little seduction, and even going to take a bath like an idiot. If she didn't notice that something was wrong and stole the item back, he'd have lost a lot. Xiaoke thought. Xiaoke sat on the sofa waiting for Lin Yi to come out after his shower. He suddenly felt expected. What was going to happen between Qiqi and Lin Yi in the shower? Now that young Qiqi wasn't here and she was in Lin Yi's room, would something happen between her and Lin Yi? With that thought, Xiaoke got nervous. If Lin Yi wanted to push her down, would she agree or not? Or agree? Just when Xiaoke was panicking, the washroom door opened and Lin Yi walked out wearing a nightgown. He wasn't wearing the male thief mask, but the 1,000 silk mask that the heaven-class spider gave him. In the washroom, Lin Yi had heard the sound of Qiqi leaving. Qiqi had made it very quiet, but how could she hide it from an Earth-class mid-phase peak like Lin Yi? Lin Yi also knew that Xiaoke had come in. This was also the reason why Lin Yi didn't come out after showering. He recognized Xiaoke's footsteps and knew that she was safe in her room. As for not wearing the mask, Lin Yi was too lazy to wear it, and Xiaoke had tried to take it off many times, so he decided that he might as well take it off himself. He still had the 1,000 silk mask on, so Lin Yi wasn't worried that Xiaoke would recognize him. Xiaoke, you're here? Is she gone already? Lin Yi wiped his hair with a towel as he looked at Xiaoke on the sofa and asked calmly. You knew she was gone? Xiaoke paused for a second before answering. She realized that Lin Yi wasn't wearing the mask this time, and she was surprised and happy. She even forgot about Qiqi and stood up. Male thief, is this your real face? You're finally willing to take off your mask in front of me. I'm so happy. Fine. Lin Yi smiled. How is it? Are you disappointed? With the 1,000 silk mask on his face, Lin Yi looked like a normal person. He didn't have the handsomeness he used to have, and he gave off the feeling that you wouldn't be able to find him in a crowd. This was the effect that the 1,000 silk mask was supposed to have. If it was too obvious, then the mask would be a failure. No. Xiaoke shook her head heavily. What you look like isn't important. What I like is the person who protected me carefully in the tomb. Plus, your looks aren't that outstanding, but in my eyes, you're perfect. Lin Yi paused. He didn't think that Xiaoke would reveal her feelings so boldly again. He didn't know how to reply to this. I'll go take a shower. Although that annoying girl left, there's still me. Xiaoke said to Lin Yi bravely. Xiaoke, it's okay, you misunderstood. Lin Yi jumped. He was a little moved, but how could he do anything with Xiaoke in this place? He quickly waved his hand to stop her. I suggested taking a shower. The goal was to create a chance for her to steal the blue crystal. You let her steal it on purpose? Xiaoke's eyes widened in shock, not understanding why Lin Yi would do this. Xiaoke, sit down first. I'll tell you the details. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Actually, she's a pitiful person. She had her own persistence, willing to compromise. Xiaoke wasn't too happy hearing Lin Yi's high evaluation of young Qiqi, but she still sat down obediently. Actually, the truth is like this. The thing she stole was hers and I just took it from someone else's hands. With that, Lin Yi told Xiaoke about what happened at the practitioner's market. Ah, so that's how it is. Xiaoke realized after listening to Lin Yi's story, it really was Yang Qiqi's. But Xiaoke was still a little unsatisfied. Although it was hers, she was useless and someone stole it. You stole it from the person who stole it, so it's yours. What right does she have to steal it back? That's what I thought before. I thought that she was biting the hand that fed her. I helped her get back a small qi-gathering pill, so she should be satisfied. Otherwise she wouldn't get anything. Lin Yi nodded. So, when she threw herself at me, I used that as an excuse to tease her. But later in the restaurant I heard a phone call from her and I changed my mind. Lin Yi then told Xiaoke about the phone call. Xiaoke couldn't help but fall silent. Indeed, if what Lin Yi said was true, then Yang Qiqi and herself were quite similar in some aspects. Chapter 2486. Xiaoke was doing it for the children in the orphanage and Qiqi was doing it for her sick family or friends. I see. But I took back what she stole. Xiaoke helplessly took out the blue crystal and gave it to Lin Yi. Ah. Lin Yi froze as he looked at the crystal in Xiaoke's palm. He didn't think that Xiaoke would take it back. Of course, to Xiaoke, it was as easy as lifting a finger. Yang Qiqi took a while to calm herself down after getting back to her room. She patted her chest and carefully put her hand into her pocket, wanting to take out the blue crystal for a look. But the moment she put her hand in her pocket, her face froze. Where was the blue crystal? The blue crystal was gone. Qiqi rummaged through her pockets once more, but it was empty. There was nothing there at all. Qiqi was completely stupefied. Where did the blue crystal go? She'd stolen it and put it in her pocket and they'd been so close, there was no way she'd lost it, right? Qiqi suddenly remembered someone and that was Xiaoke. She'd only met Xiaoke recently and when she came out of Lin Yi's room, they brushed past each other and Xiaoke even bumped into her. Could she have stolen the blue crystal at that time? Qiqi's eyes flashed with anger at the thought. She was very angry. Why was it always Xiaoke who ruined her plans? She stormed out of the room and went straight to Lin Yi's room. She remembered what happened before. She remembered that Xiaoke went into Lin Yi's room. Lin Yi heard the footsteps in the hallway and he put on the male thief's mask. Coming to Lin Yi's room, Qiqi saw that Lin Yi's door wasn't locked, so she pushed the door open and walked in. Seeing Xiaoke holding her blue crystal in front of Lin Yi like it was a treasure, Yang Qiqi was furious. In actuality, she had misunderstood Xiaoke. Xiaoke didn't offer anything, but she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She was kind enough to help Lin Yi get the blue crystal back, but it was Lin Yi who let Yang Qiqi steal it. You're such a wicked girl, you stole my blue crystal. Are you going to use it to please this big bully? Qiqi pointed at Xiaoke and said angrily. Xiaoke had been sympathizing with Qiqi and was ready to send the blue crystal back, but Qiqi started scolding her the moment she walked in. Not to mention Qiqi was calling the perfect man in her heart a bully. How could she not be angry? What a joke, this blue crystal clearly belonged to the man. He stole it from that skinny guy. How did it become yours? Xiaoke didn't back down. Aren't you ashamed to come here and cause a ruckus? You. Qiqi had an idea. That's right. Even if he took it from that skinny guy, I took it from him, so it's mine now. Well, that's right. You said it yourself, you took it, so it's yours now. I stole it from you, so it's mine now. Xiaoke said matter-of-factly. So what are you yelling for? Aren't you ashamed of selling your body? You. Qiqi was speechless. She was no match for Xiaoke when it came to defense and deceit. Xiaoke used to be at the bottom of society, dealing with gangsters all the time. Young Qiqi was no match for her. What about me? What about you? You have nothing to say now? Xiaoke humphed. You tricked me into taking a bath and you left with the blue crystal. Do you think I'm an idiot? Qiqi was just about to say the word when she remembered Xiaoke's words. She felt wronged and started crying. Woo, you're all bullying me. Qiqi wiped her tears. She felt wronged as she ran out the door back to her room. Xiaoke and Lin Yi, on the other hand, looked at each other. The reason why Lin Yi didn't stop Xiaoke from making things difficult for Qiqi was because he wanted to teach her a lesson. He was ready to return the blue crystal to her, but it was only because she needed to save a patient. He was still a little pissed off that she was biting the hand that fed her. This was why he didn't stop Xiaoke, but he didn't think that Qiqi would be this weak, running away after a few words from Xiaoke. Did she feel wronged? Lin Yi shook his head. She was still lacking in social experience. Male thief, I'm sorry, I didn't think I'd scare her away. Xiaoke said, embarrassed after some hesitation. It's fine, we'll talk about it later. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Okay. Xiaoka let out a breath of relief when she saw that Lin Yi didn't blame her. Right, Xiaoka, why did you come to the cultivators market? It seems like you have to spend a lot of money to participate in the cultivators market, right? Where did you get the invitation? Lin Yi asked. I stole it. Xiaoka said embarrassedly, I was thinking of coming here to see if I could get some money back. Ha, okay, I understand. Lin Yi said, I'll deal with it for you tomorrow. Okay. Xiaoka nodded happily. All of a sudden Lin Yi's phone rang. Lin Yi looked at the call, it was Meng Yao, but he didn't want to answer it in front of Xiaoka, so Lin Yi was hesitated, should he hang up or pick it up? But Xiaoka seemed to have noticed Lin Yi's inconvenience and smiled. You answer the phone first, I'll go back to my room. Xiaoka let out a breath of relief when she knew that Lin Yi wasn't looking for Qiqi. At the same time, she knew that Lin Yi wouldn't be doing anything with her. She stood up and left the room, helping Lin Yi hang up the door before returning to her own room. Lin Yi, on the other hand, picked up the phone. Hello? Lin Yi, it's me. Meng Yao's voice came from the phone. Yao, what's wrong? What happened? Lin Yi asked worriedly. Under normal circumstances, Meng Yao wouldn't call Lin Yi when he was out. She didn't want to disturb Lin Yi. Pinliang came back all of a sudden today. Meng Yao was speechless at the name. She didn't think that Pinliang would come to Donghai Industry University, not to mention that he was harassing her on the first day. Chapter 2487. Pinliang? Why's he back? Lin Yi paused. Did he cause you trouble? Man, he came looking for me as soon as he came to school. Meng Yao said, troubled. Plus, I don't know where he learned some kung fu from, but it's really powerful. Oh? He learned kung fu? Lin Yi was surprised. Yeah, it's like this. Meng Yao told Lin Yi everything that happened today in detail. Pinliang and Xiaofu stayed on Mount Mingri for a while, and Pinliang was accepted as an in-name disciple by the head of the sect, Pure Yang Sky Master. He was given a treasure, the mid-tier golden cicada underwear. This mid-tier golden cicada underwear could defend against any attack from a master under Sky class. It was a super treasure. Pinliang and Xiaofu didn't have good grades, but they paid to go to the joint school. They were still in the same school, but their graduation certificates were different. Pinliang and Xiaofu didn't care about these things. The first thing they did when they got back to school was to find Meng Yao. Yao. Pinliang hadn't seen Meng Yao for a long time, and his heart was pounding with excitement. Pinliang? Meng Yao and Yushu had just finished class, and were about to go to the cafeteria for lunch when they saw Pinliang and Xiaofu waiting for them at the economics building. Haha, Yao, we are classmates again, this is really something to be happy about. Pinliang knew that Meng Yao had never liked him before, but he wasn't discouraged. He finally had his chance. He was invincible under Sky class, and he had the right to pursue Meng Yao again. Meng Yao nodded. Shu and I are going for lunch now. You can go back to your work. Meng Yao still didn't have a good attitude towards Pinliang. She said a few words and prepared to leave. Wait, Yao, where's Lin Yi? Pinliang asked as soon as he got back. He wanted to spar with Lin Yi to see who was better, himself or Lin Yi. Lin Yi's busy these past 2 days. What's up with you? Meng Yao asked. It's fine. Isn't he too incompetent as a bodyguard? Pinliang shook his head and said sarcastically, Yao, I think that Yao is the only one who can protect you. You should replace him. Substitution? Who should they replace? Could it be you? Meng Yao frowned. She didn't want to waste any more time with Pinliang. Wasn't this guy scared of Lin Yi? Why did he become so arrogant after disappearing for a period of time? That's right. Pinliang patted his chest happily after hearing Meng Yao's words. I was just about to recommend myself. I didn't expect Yao's eyes to be so accurate. Meng Yao was speechless at Pinliang's shameless words. After a while. Then he said helplessly, I'm going to eat. Don't. How about this, I'll treat you to dinner. Pinliang quickly stopped Meng Yao. No need, Meng Yao said faintly. Yao, we're old classmates after all. You won't reject an old classmate's treat, will you? Pinliang said, besides, I'm no longer the Pinliang from before. I'm the master Pinliang now. Even Lin Yi might not be as good as me. I'll be your bodyguard this time, I promise that no one will dare to bully you. Meng Yao frowned and wanted to say something, but Yushu interrupted, Liang Yi, are you really that good? Of course I'm pretty good now. Pinliang nodded. Oh, in school we have a few enemies. Since you're so powerful, why don't you come with us? Since you're so good, why don't you beat them up for me? Yushu rolled her eyes and thought of a way to get rid of Pinliang. Oh, someone dares to bully you? That Lin Yi doesn't care? He's not a good bodyguard at all. Pinliang was puzzled. Shield bro, he intervened. He beat that person up and that person begged for mercy. But I don't think it's enough, so I want to beat him up again. If you can't do it, then forget it. Yushu said, move aside, Yao Yao sis and I are going to dinner. Sure, who said I can't do it? Pinliang said immediately, tell me, who do you want me to beat up? The boxing club's president, Li Biaohan. You go beat him up. Yushu said. Okay, I'll remember. Pinliang nodded and promised, I'll show Yao Yao what I'm capable of, just wait and see. Okay, after you beat him up, I'll send you on a few missions. If you pass, I'll consider persuading Yao Yao sis to take you as her bodyguard, Yushu said. Haha Shu, you and I are the best, hee hee hee. Pinliang took out a map of the school, looked at it and waved his hand happily. Xiaofu, let's go fight. Yes, Liang bro. Xiaofu replied quickly and walked towards the boxing club with Pinliang. Phew, they're finally gone. Mengyao sighed in relief and turned to Yushu. Shu, why did you send him to beat up that Li Biaohan? That Li Biaohan is a golden class late phase peak, didn't Pinliang say how strong he is? Then let him get beaten up, Yushu said. If you don't send him to get beaten up, he'll still bother us. You're right, but isn't this a bit bad? Mengyao didn't like Pinliang, but she felt that Shu's idea was a bit bad. What's bad about it? It's not bad at all. Yushu said matter-of-factly, how can he be a bodyguard if he can't even beat Li Biaohan? Alright, I hope he doesn't get beaten to death. Mengyao shook her head and went to the cafeteria with Yushu. But Mengyao and Yushu hadn't even finished their meal when Pinliang came to the cafeteria with Xiaofu. He found Mengyao and Yushu and said proudly, Li Biaohan, it's done. He's so weak in front of me, he's just a golden class late phase peak. I'll beat him up until he's sent to the hospital. Mengyao froze at Pinliang's words. Yushu, on the other hand, widened her eyes in shock. Was this Pinliang? He beat Li Biaohan? He even knew that Li Biaohan was a master at the peak of the late phase of the golden class? Chapter 2488. Haha, I told you I'm no longer the Zhong Pinliang I used to be, I'm the master Zhong Pinliang now. Pinliang saw the shocked expressions on Mengyao and Yushu's faces, pleased with himself. What do you think? I'm qualified to be your bodyguard now, right? Lin Yi's just SOSO. Li Biaohan was quite the unlucky one. Pinliang came to the boxing club, asked who Li Biaohan was, and started beating him to death with his specially made rod. This rod was given to him by Zhang Naipeo, and was made out of mystic steel, the material used to forge mystical weapons. While the everyday sect didn't have the ability to forge it into a mystical weapon, it wasn't hard to forge a rod that didn't require qi. The reason why Pinliang was given this rod was to make up for Pinliang's weakness of being only able to defend. Pinliang's mid-level golden cicada undershirt could protect his entire body from harm. After putting it on, the exposed parts of his face and hands would automatically be protected. It was enough to prove that this mid-level golden cicada undershirt was a super treasure. But Pinliang wasn't afraid of a fight. If others couldn't hit him, then he wouldn't be able to hit anyone. In order for him to win, Naipeo had asked his master, Pure Yang Sky Master, to forge this mystical steel rod for him. Although this black iron steel rod was not a heaven-rank divine weapon, it could hit all cultivators below the heaven rank. True chi protection was useless. Encountering this black iron steel rod, which was used to forge heaven-rank divine weapons, one would still be injured. But Pinliang didn't have chi, and the damage he could do was limited. The lower the practitioner's level, the more damage he could deal. Plus, it was suitable for a long fight, and 1 or 2 hits wouldn't cause too much damage. This thing wasn't afraid of chi protection, but the damage it could deal depended on Pinliang's strength. The stronger he was, the more vicious the damage he could deal. And so, Li Biaohan was in big trouble. Pinliang entered the boxing club alone and started smashing Li Biaohan with his steel rod. It didn't matter if it was Li Biaohan or his men, no matter how they fought back, Zhong Pinliang didn't dodge. As strong as Li Biaohan was, he couldn't handle Pinliang's relentless attacks. After a while, his head was bleeding and he fainted on the ground. His lackeys were also crying out in pain from Pinliang's attacks. Listen up, I'm Zhong Pinliang, the boss of this school from now on. I'm now the leader of the school's young thugs. Anyone who isn't convinced can come and find me anytime. Pinliang knocked all the boxing club members to the ground as he raised his steel rod. Mengyao is my goddess. Anyone who dares to bully her is my enemy. I'm Yao Yao's personal bodyguard now. Come at me if you want to die. After declaring Mingyao's ownership, Pinliang and Xiaofu left the boxing club in a high-profile manner. Xiaofu, on the other hand, didn't make a move. Only when he saw that Pinliang had won did he jump out and cheer. News spread like wildfire in the school, and the news of Pin Liang taking on the boxing club spread like wildfire. Yao Yao, I've taken care of that Li Biaohan. That guy's probably going to spend the next few months in the hospital. Pin Liang said proudly. Yeah, Liang bro, you'll know once you make a move. The entire boxing club is useless now, Liang bro took them on all by himself. Xiaofu added. Ah. Meng Yao froze. She didn't expect Pin Liang to be this strong. Yushu on the other hand looked at Pin Liang in disbelief. How did he become this strong? No way. She had to find something to evaluate his strength and see if he was as strong as Shield Bro. If he was stronger than Shield Bro, she had to think of a way to get rid of him. Oh Liangi, I didn't expect this. You're making me dig my eyes out. Yushu said, surprised. Ah, that's right. Shu, do you think I'm qualified to be Yao Yao's bodyguard now? Pin Liang thought that Yushu really admired him. It wasn't surprising. He was so strong now and his mentality had changed. He thought that he was the strongest. No, I don't think so. That Li Biaohan is just the weakest. You beat him up and that means you have a chance to be Yao Yao's bodyguard, but it's just a chance. Yushu said. Next, I'll give you a few missions to test you. If you complete them, I'll recommend you to Yao Yao and let you be her bodyguard. Yushu was trying to trick Pin Liang again. He passed the mission and it was just a recommendation. If Meng Yao didn't agree, everything would go to waste. But Pin Liang's confidence was inflated, and naturally he didn't know that Yushu was messing with him. Instead he was eager to show off. Alright, tell me. I'll beat up whoever you want me to beat up as many times as you want me to beat up. There's someone called Tiger Right. He has a golden class and a mystic class with him. Can you handle them? Yushu started to trick Tiger Right again. Golden class and mystic class? It's nothing. Tell me where are they from? Pin Liang nodded after hearing the two's levels. They're biology majors. Yushu said. Alright, I'll go deal with them. Pin Liang nodded and strode out of the cafeteria, looking for Tiger Right and his men. Yushu realized that something was wrong as well. Pin Liang should know how strong a mystic class master was, but judging from his nonchalant attitude, it didn't seem like he was afraid of a mystic class master at all. Yao Yao, something's not right. Is Pin Liang an earth class already? Yushu looked at Pin Liang's back in disbelief. That's weird. Shu, don't shoot yourself in the foot. What if he's really strong? Are you really going to let him be my bodyguard? Meng Yao said, speechless. I won't. My last mission is to have him fight with Shield Bro. If he beats Shield Bro, I'll recommend him, Yushu said. Oh, then you're setting him up. Meng Yao nodded but then frowned. What if he's really stronger than Linny? Yushu hesitated. Yao Yao, actually if he's stronger than Shield Bro and he comes to bother you, there's nothing we can do. You're right, Meng Yao thought about it. Then, will Linny be his match? Chapter 2489. I don't know, I'll test him a little more. Maybe he'll accept the inheritance? How did he get so strong all of a sudden? What a scam. Yushu couldn't understand how Pin Liang had become so strong all of a sudden. Inheritance? No way. Meng Yao paused, feeling uneasy. She was really afraid that Linny wouldn't be able to take him on. Panhu Wright was very happy today because Linny didn't come to school. These days he and Xiaolong had been pretending to be obedient with Linny around. It wasn't that they were cowards, it was just that Linny had brought them too much shock. Today Linny wasn't here and Panhu Wright and Xiaolong had been laying low for the whole morning. They were just about to go meet Han Jingjing when someone shouted at the door. Where's Panhu Wright? Who's Panhu Wright? Get your ass out here, Liang bro. Pin Liang knocked on the door with his steel rod as he yelled. Panhu Wright froze. He was considered a tough guy in school. Other than Lin Yi, who else would dare to disrespect him? Even Li Biaohan from the Firewolves and Nia Deo from the Hidden House wouldn't dare say something like that. Other than Lin Yi, no one else dared to use the word, fuck off, on him. Who are you? Do you want to die? How dare you insult our master Panhu? Before Panhu Wright could say anything, his two lackeys stood up and charged at the door. You two are Panhu Wright's lackeys? A golden class and a mystic class? Pin Liang asked as he looked at the two rushing at him. That's right. Where are you from? Yellow Hair paused. He didn't think that this guy would know his and Purple Hair's strength. He didn't seem like an idiot who didn't know anything. Could it be that he had some sort of background? Oh, if that's the case, then prepare to get beaten up. Pin Liang's rod smashed over, hitting Blondie's head. He didn't split his head open, but it was still enough to draw blood. Yellow Hair didn't think that Pin Liang would hit him just like that. He didn't say anything, so he didn't put up any defenses and got hit. This time he didn't fall to the ground, but he was still dizzy. Before he could react, the rod came smashing over again. Bang bang bang. Pinliang's speed was fast. He knew his weakness and wanted to finish the fight as soon as possible. Little bastard, you're courting death. The yellow hair was furious. Purple hair, kill him. Purple hair also reacted at this moment. When he saw Pinliang smashing his metal rod at Goldie, he threw a punch at Pinliang. However, purple hair was puzzled. This Zhong Pinliang didn't seem to be a practitioner. That iron rod was pretty strong, but he couldn't tell his level at all. This guy didn't have any true chi at all, and he couldn't be like other external martial arts experts who could mobilize the surrounding spiritual chi of heaven and earth to form true chi. Just how strong was this guy? However, no matter how strong he was, Purple Hair was confident that he could cripple Zhong Pinliang with one punch. He was a mystic class master. The punch wasn't weak and he purposely held back some of his strength. Otherwise he could have killed Pinliang with just one punch. It was just that what happened next was a little inconceivable for Purple Hair. Purple Hair's fist landed on Pinliang's body. Pinliang didn't seem to have any reaction at all. He didn't dodge, didn't even make a sound, and continued to beat the yellow hair with the metal rod. Bang bang bang. Pinliang smashed faster and faster, getting better and better. This was the first time he realized how fun it was to hit people. No wonder Linny liked to bully him. Ouch. The yellow hair panicked when he saw that Purple Hair couldn't take down Pinliang. He didn't care about using pure energy to protect his body anymore. He charged at Pinliang and started punching and kicking. But the tragic thing was, although his punches and kicks landed on Pinliang's body, it didn't seem to have any effect. Because Pinliang was still beating him fiercely. He didn't care about his and Purple Hair's attacks. Finally, the yellow hair's vision became blurry, and he lost his footing. He fainted on the ground, and Pinliang turned around and started beating Purple Hair with the steel rod. This feeling made Pinliang feel like he was walking on air. When he fought with others couldn't beat him, but he could beat them. Purple Hair realized that something was wrong. The kid in front of him clearly wasn't afraid of hitting. No matter how he hit him, it was useless. He didn't seem to be injured at all, and he had already suffered many external injuries. Purple Hair also realized that the rod in Pinliang's hand wasn't a normal metal rod. It seemed to be a treasure that could pass through his pure energy protection and directly hurt his body. Thinking of this, Purple Hair reached out to snatch the steel rod from Pinliang's hand. But just as his hand grabbed the end of the steel rod, he suddenly felt a strong high-voltage electricity coming from the end of the steel rod, directly spreading through Purple Hair's body. Purple Hair cried out in pain, and after a while, he fell to the ground with black smoke coming out of his head. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. SB. Pinliang looked at the Purple Hair on the ground in disdain. This steel rod was something Zhang Naipeo had asked the Pure Yang Sky Master to design for him. The Everyday Sect was a demonic sect, and naturally they had some demonic methods. Although they couldn't make Sky-class weapons, they could modify some mechanisms in the weapons. For example, Pinliang's steel rod had some mechanisms installed in it, and when someone tried to snatch it, it would automatically release high-voltage electricity. Right Coiling Tiger stood in the classroom, dumbfounded at the sudden appearance of this devil. He was shocked. Who was this kid? Where did he come from? How could he be so ferocious that he could beat his two subordinates to the ground? It's your turn. Pinliang used the steel rod to point at Right Coiling Tiger. Come over. If you don't defend, I'll give you a quick death. Who are you? Did I offend you? Yu Coiling Tiger felt a little guilty. Although he was very powerful in the Yu family, he was not powerful now. The person in front of him was obviously very strong. Most importantly, he was not afraid of fighting. This made Yu Coiling Tiger tremble with fear. I'm Zhong Pinliang. Pinliang knocked on the door frame. You didn't offend me, but you offended my goddess. Who's your goddess? Right Coiling Tiger paused. Mengyao, I'm her personal bodyguard. Pinliang said. Mengyao? Right Coiling Tiger paused again, almost crying. Fuck, when did I offend her? I don't even know her. The only contact I've had is when that girl next to her hit me with a bowling ball. I'm the victim. Chapter 2490. I don't care, my goal is to beat you up. Pinliang didn't care how Coiling Tiger explained. His goal was to beat Coiling Tiger up and get credit from Yushu. He didn't care if Coiling Tiger's words were true or not. I'm the second young master of the Hidden House Yu. You'll be in trouble if you beat me up. Coiling Tiger had no choice but to bring out the House Yu's name, hoping that Pinliang would be scared and stop. What Hidden House Yu? It's just a small hidden house, it's nothing. I'm the disciple of the Everyday and Everyday Sect's master, Pure Yang Sky Master. With that, Pinliang raised his steel rod and swung it at Tiger Right, Coiling Tiger froze. Everyday and everyday sect? Why did their disciple come to Donghai Industry University? What was going on? But before he could figure it out, he was hit by Pinliang's iron rod. He wasn't even as good as purple hair and yellow hair. He was a pure elixir refiner with no attack or defense skills, and he had no experience at all. Cries of pain rang through the hallway, and it wasn't long before Coiling Tiger's eyes rolled back as he laid on the ground, accompanied by yellow hair and purple hair. Liang bro, you're amazing. At this moment, Gao Xiaofu appeared out of nowhere and said proudly, "These people are a piece of cake for Brother Liang." That's right. Don't you know who gave me this treasure? Pin Liang left the biology building with Xiaofu and went to find Mengyao and Yushu. Mengyao and Yushu didn't think that Pin Liang would come back so fast, coming back in the blink of an eye. Liangi, you took care of that Coiling Tiger? Yushu felt that things weren't looking good. It seemed like Pin Liang was many times stronger than before. Ah, of course, look at who did it. Pin Liang smiled. That kid and his two underlings were no match for me. They're just trash. How about it? Do I have the right to be Yao Yao's personal bodyguard now? Yushu hesitated. No, these people are small fries. Shield Bro can take care of them in a matter of minutes. If you want to be Sister Yao Yao's personal expert, you still need to work hard. I see. Pin Liang was a little disappointed, but it made sense. Lin Yi was already in Earth class. Beating up Mystic and Golden class practitioners would be a piece of cake for him. He just proved that he could fight as well. But he didn't show Mengyao and Yushu just how strong he was, and that was the problem. Yeah, so you still need to prove your strength. Yushu said. Then what's my next mission? Pin Liang asked. About that. Let me think about it, I don't want to make it hard for you. Yushu said. How about this, Liangi, you go back and wait for my news. Alright. Sister Yao Yao said she wants to eat the spicy skewers from the food street in Songshan City. Go buy some. Oh, that works too. Zhong Pin Liang nodded. Then he said, isn't it just spicy skewers? I'll go buy them now. With that, Pin Liang left with Xiaofu. Mengyao, on the other hand, was a little troubled. Yushu might have sent Pin Liang away for now, but he'd come back sooner or later to bother them, especially now that he'd become so powerful. It'd be even harder to get rid of him now. Shu, Pin Liang's so strong, what should we do? Should we tell Lin Yi? Mengyao thought about it. Yushu said. Yeah, we have to tell Shield Bro, but first we need to figure out why Pin Liang's so strong. Yushu said, only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. Then how do we investigate him? Mengyao asked. I'm going to talk to Han Jingjing, doesn't she like to play with high-tech stuff? Let's see if she has a listening device or something. We'll put one on Pin Liang and we'll be able to eavesdrop on his secrets. Yushu said. Sounds good. Mengyao nodded. And so, while Pin Liang went to buy the spicy skewers, Yushu went to find Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing didn't have such a thing, but she knew where to buy it. But they knew where to buy it. Mengyao drove the whole afternoon, bringing Han Jingjing and Shu to buy a listening device. When they came back, Zhong Pin Liang had just come back as well. Mengyao thought to herself that it was a close shave. Pin Liang might suspect something if he saw that they weren't in school. In fact, it was all because of Mengyao's guilty conscience. Pin Liang wouldn't think much of it even if she wasn't in school. Shu, on the other hand, walked up to Pin Liang with the listening device in her hand and took the piping hot spicy skewers from him with a smile. Liangi, thank you. Haha, you're welcome. It's what I should do. Pin Liang said. I'll just treat it as a preview of what to do when I become Yao Yao's personal bodyguard. And not bad. It's still warm. Yushu patted Pin Liang's shoulder and stuck the listening device on his back. The listening device was very small, and it looked like a button on Pin Liang's back. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to see it. Yao Yao asked me to encourage you. Keep it up. Xiaoliangzi, Sister Yao Yao likes brave people. I know. Pin Liang thought that it was Mengyao's idea when Yushu patted him on the shoulder. He was very excited. Yushu had been toying with him a lot in the past, but she had never patted him on the shoulder like this. This kind of change was enough to show the change in Mengyao's heart. If Mengyao still hated him that much, she wouldn't have told Yushu to pat his shoulder to encourage him. From what Pin Liang could see, Yushu had always been looking down on him. She had never been this kind before. And it's good that you know. Yushu nodded. There are some things that Yao Yao is too embarrassed to say. I'll pass it on for her. Do you want to hear it? Yes, of course I want to hear it. Pin Liang replied quickly. Alright, since you want to hear it, I'll tell you. Right now, we've only seen a part of what you're capable of. To be precise, we don't know much about you yet. How about this, try your best to challenge some masters and make a name for yourself. That's the only way you can become Yao Yao's personal bodyguard, Yushu said. Chapter 2491. It was so nice to watch without ads. Look at Shield bro, he's famous now. Jiang Wen and Zhao Qibing are both scared to death when they hear his name, so he doesn't even need to do anything when there's a lot of trouble. He just needs to stand out and tell them his name and they'll be scared to death. But you can't do that yet. I see. Pin Liang nodded. Yushu was right, it was the truth. Lin Yi's name was like a tree's shadow, and Lin Yi's name was definitely famous. Even the practitioners who participated in the Ice Palace's trial would be scared when they heard Lin Yi's name. Of course, this was what Zhang Naipeo told him. Zhang Naipeo's setback forced him to take Lin Yi seriously. He needed to train hard and defeat Lin Yi the next time they met. Jiang Wen, Zhao Qibing. These two names made Pin Liang feel a little guilty. He was very strong now, but Jiang Wen and Zhao Qibing weren't pushovers either. Their individual strength wasn't good enough, but they had gangs and families backing them up. The Firewolves had many masters, and the Hidden House Zhao had a sky class as well. Pin Liang didn't dare to go after them. But he wanted to prove how strong he was, so he had to think of a way. Alright, I'll go back and think about how I can prove my bravery. I'll be heading back first. Shu, please put in a good word for me in front of Yao Yao. Pin Liang said. No problem. Yushu nodded and waved her hand to send Pin Liang off. When he was far away, Yushu put an earphone in her ear. Can we really find out what they're after? Meng Yao sighed. She couldn't figure out why Pin Liang had become so strong. It should be possible. They're discussing how to prove Pin Liang's strength right now, Yushu said. Indeed, Pin Liang and Xiaofu were discussing how to prove their strength. Liang bro, why don't you go beat up Zhao Qibing and Jiang Wen again? Xiaofu said. Isn't that the simplest way? Idiot. Jiang Wen kicked Xiaofu's foot. Why are you still so retarded? So impulsive? Can't you learn from me and think before you act? Qibing and Jiang Wen aren't that easy to beat up. That Zhao Qibing, no matter how strong he is, he can't be above Sky Class, can he? At most, he's an Earth Class master. What's there to be afraid of? Gao Xiaofu said. As for that and Jiang Wen, he was more like an ordinary person, right? Brother Liang has the golden cicada undergarment. As long as the opponent is not a heaven stage expert, Brother Liang can definitely win, right? You idiot, behind Zhao Qibing is the Hidden House Zhao. They have a Sky Class master. Of course, I'll beat him up and reveal my identity as a disciple of the Everyday and Everyday sect. The Hidden Zhao family definitely won't dare to do anything to me. The most important thing was Jiang Wen. Although he is an ordinary person, do you know that the Fire Wolf gang is filled with experts? They're not weaker than the Everyday and Everyday sect? Pin Liang glared at Xiaofu. You think I don't want to touch Jiang Wen? One of my kidneys was cut off by him. If possible, I'd send him to heaven first, but no, they're not afraid of us. Then we'll start with Zhao Qibing? Xiaofu said. That's the only way. Pin Liang nodded. Let's beat up that Zhao Qibing first, we'll think of something else. Alright, we'll go find Zhao Qibing later. Xiaofu nodded. Later my ass. Are you stupid? Beating up Zhao Qibing at House Zhao is suicide. Pin Liang raged. Either we hide our identity and get beaten up by that Sky Class master, old Zhao, or we reveal our identity. But we definitely won't be able to fight. Then what do we do? Xiaofu asked carefully. He realized that his IQ wasn't enough anymore. It seemed like Liang Bro really wasn't the Liang Bro he used to be. He was much more intelligent now. In fact, a person would definitely grow after going through big ups and downs. It was just that Pin Liang's comprehension was stronger. Let's go find Right Coiling Tiger, that guy definitely knows Zhao Qibing. Let him make a call. Ask Zhao Qibing out, he knows who we are. He wouldn't dare disobey us, Pin Liang said. Oh, that works. Xiaofu thought about it and realized that Liang Bro was smart. And so, the two went back to find Right Coiling Tiger. Right Coiling Tiger had just woken up, and although he didn't need to go to the hospital after taking the elixir, he was still heavily injured and could only rest in his seat. The three of them were very depressed. They didn't even know Meng Yao and Yushu, and they were beaten up for no reason. This guy was a disciple of the Everyday and Everyday sect too. It was impossible for them to take revenge. Even the people from the Sky Elixir sect had to avoid the people from the Everyday and Everyday sect. There was no other reason other than that these people were too evil. Just like that Pin Liang from before. He didn't seem to have much attack power and his combat ability was very low, but he was very resistant. There was also a clear difference between him and the disciples of the Golden Bell sect. He didn't have any strength at all, unlike the physical practitioners. That wasn't all, the iron rod in his hand was even weirder. The seemingly ordinary iron rod was able to pierce through the chi protection. was a little strange. How unlucky, I thought that Lin Yi would be gone for a few days and then this Zhong Pinliang came out of nowhere. Fuck. Right, Coiling Tiger was furious. Right, master, did this guy hit the wrong person? We didn't bully Meng Yao at all, but you got smashed in the head by that big tits girl next to Meng Yao. This is too unfair. Yellow Hair said angrily. What can we do about it? Right, Coiling Tiger said helplessly. We can't just take revenge, can we? Let's not talk about whether we can beat him or not, even if we can. Do you think his background is weak? He's from the Everyday and Everyday sect. Luckily he didn't want our lives, so we'll let this pass. We'll be more careful in the future and don't mess with him. We'll treat him the same way we treated Lin Yi, Purple Hair suggested after some thought. Yes, I think that'll work. Right, Coiling Tiger nodded and agreed. Right, Coiling Tiger, are you dead or not? If you're not, come out. Pinliang's voice came from the classroom door again. Oh my god, why is he back again? Right, Coiling Tiger was shocked when he heard the voice, almost crying. To be continued. For the latest chapters, please log in. Reading is a pleasure, I recommend you bookmark it. For more full-text novels, download. Chapter 2492. However, Pinliang brought Xiaofu into the classroom as he spoke, still holding his steel rod in his hand. Yu Coiling Tiger hurriedly lay on the table and pretended to be dead. Previously, he had wasted a small rejuvenation pill to heal his injuries. If he were to be beaten again, not only would he be in pain, but he would also lose his small rejuvenation pill. He couldn't possibly carry a bunch of small rejuvenation pills with him every day, right? Hey, don't play dead. Pinliang smashed the steel rod on the corner of Yu Coiling Tiger's table. I'm dead. Yu Coiling Tiger said. Motherfucker, you're lying to me, right? You think I'm easy to bully? If it was Lin Yi, would you dare lie to me like that? Pinliang raged. Fine, I'm alive again. Yu Coiling Tiger jumped and sat up, his face bitter. Young bro, why are you here again? Didn't you teach us a lesson? We know we won't mess with Meng Yao anymore, okay? That's not it. Pinliang waved his hand. Do you know Zhao Qibing? Zhao Qibing? I do, why are you asking about him? Yu Coiling Tiger paused. Good, Pinliang said. Call him now and ask him out. I don't care what reason you have, I want to see him before school ends today. Ask him out? Young bro, you're... Yu Coiling Tiger let out a breath of relief when he heard that Pinliang wasn't here to beat him up, but at the same time he was confused. Why was he looking for Zhao Qibing? Oh, I'm going to beat him up, but don't tell him. If he runs away, I'll have to beat you up, Pinliang said. I see, that's easy. Yu Coiling Tiger nodded, thinking that it was fine as long as it had nothing to do with him. As for Zhao Qibing, he didn't care if he lived or died. The relationship between the Hidden House Zhao and the Hidden House Yu wasn't that good anyways. Yu Coiling Tiger sold Zhao Qibing out. Alright, call me when he's here. Here's my number. Pinliang was very happy to see Right Panhu's cooperation. He left his number and left with Xiaofu. Got it, Liang bro? Panhu Right wrote down Pinliang's number, wondering if this guy was Lin Yi's enemy. If it was Lin Yi's enemy, then he could sit on the mountain and reap the spoils. But it seemed that this guy's goal was similar to Lin Yi's. Lin Yi's enemy was Pinliang's enemy? Yu Panhu gave Zhao Qibing a call. The reason was simple, there was someone in school who wanted to see him, and it was someone who was very likely to come. Zhao Qibing was fighting for the position of the young head of the Hidden House Zhao, and when he heard that Panhu Right had a very powerful friend who wanted to see him, he happily drove to Donghai Industry University. Panhu Right, on the other hand, called Pinliang and told him to wait for Zhao Qibing at the parking lot in front of the school. Not long after, Zhao Qibing drove his new Porsche Cayenne to Donghai Industry University. He parked the car in the parking lot and was about to call Tiger Right when someone knocked on the car door. What? Zhao Qibing rolled down the window and asked Pinliang angrily, Who the hell are you? Fuck, Zhao Qibing, don't you recognize me? Pinliang smashed his rod down on the front of Zhao Qibing's car, forming a dent. Zhong Pinliang? Zhao Qibing looked at Zhong Pinliang and froze. He recognized him. Zhong Fubai used to be Zhao Qibing's underling. How could Zhao Qibing not recognize Pinliang? But he didn't understand why Pinliang would call himself your father in front of him. Did this kid want to die? Very well, you still recognize me. Pinliang reached out and grabbed Zhao Qibing's collar. Get out of the car. Fuck, you used to order me and my dad around like dogs, offending Lin Yi, and I almost died. You, on the other hand, just left like that. Are you crazy? How dare you insult me? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am now? Zhao Qibing raged. How could he tolerate his underling ordering him around? He pushed the door open and got out of the car. I do, Aren't you Zhao Qibing from the hidden house Zhao? You're the one I'm hitting. Pinliang's rod smashed into Qibing's head, making him lose his bearings. You dare hit me? Zhao Qibing was shocked and angry, but Pinliang's rod came smashing at him again. Zhao Qibing didn't dare to be careless. He quickly channeled his practitioner's arts and used his pure qi to protect his body. Then he kicked at Pinliang. But Pinliang didn't dodge or dodge. He let Zhao Qibing kick him, but the rod in his hand kept smashing into Zhao Qibing's body. Zhao Qibing kicked Pinliang twice before realizing that his pure qi protection was useless. Pinliang's rod was still coming at him and he was still hurting. Was the pure qi protection useless? Or did Pinliang have the ability to break through it? Zhao Qibing was shocked at the thought. He quickly used his hands to protect his head so that he wouldn't bleed. Then he kicked at Pinliang with both legs. Fuck, your legs are pretty strong, aren't they? I'll let you kick me. Pinliang saw that Zhao Qibing used his hands to protect his head and swung his rod, hitting Zhao Qibing's right leg. Ouch! Zhao Qibing cried out in pain. His leg was his weakest part, and although Pinliang's rod didn't break it, it was still painful enough to make him grimace. I'll let you kick me, 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 Pinliang said as he swung the steel rod at Qibing's legs. In an instant, Qibing's good leg was crippled, and he fell to the ground on his but Pinliang didn't seem to be satisfied yet. He swung the rod at Zhao Qibing's other leg, and with a series of smashes, Zhao Qibing's left leg was broken as well. The tragic Zhao Qibing could only lie on the ground and twitch. You, Zhong Pinliang? I'll remember you, the hidden house Zhao won't let you go. Zhao Qibing didn't know how Pinliang became so strong, but he couldn't help but threaten him. Oh whatever. I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm the head of the Everyday and Everyday sect, Pure Yang Sky Master. If you want to go against the Everyday and Everyday sect, go ahead. I don't mind letting my master kill you all. Pinliang said calmly. Wow. Zhao Qibing was dumbfounded by Pinliang's words. Chapter 2493. It was so cool to watch without ads. He had never expected Pinliang to be from the ancient sect, the Everyday and Everyday sect. No wonder he was so strong, he had a master. Not to mention the ancient sects, just Lin Yi alone was enough to render the hidden house Zhao helpless. The hidden house Zhao definitely didn't dare to provoke the ancient sects, so Zhao Qibing stopped moving. It seemed like he had broken his leg for nothing again. I say, Zhao Qibing, do you still want revenge? Pinliang was overjoyed when he saw Zhao Qibing's dispirited expression the moment he heard the name of the Everyday and Everyday sect. The sect's name was indeed resounding. Pinliang, even if you want me to die, you should at least know the reason. Although you used to be my underling, I treated you well, didn't I? Why did you hit me like this? Qibing didn't think about revenge anymore. He just wanted to know what was going on. It's nothing actually. My goddess told me to hit you. You didn't mess with me, but you messed with my goddess. Pinliang said. Your goddess? Who is it? Qibing paused before remembering Pinliang's crush. Chu Mengyao? That's right, Chu Mengyao. Pinliang nodded. You're in cahoots with Lin Yi? Qibing jumped in fright at Pinliang's admission. Of course not, I'm trying to steal his position, Pinliang said. Right, let me ask you, what's Lin Yi's strength now? Strength? Earth class mid-phase or peak mid-phase? Qibing said. Why are you asking? You can beat Lin Yi? Earth class, huh? That's not a problem, I'll get him. Pinliang nodded in relief. Alright Zhao Qibing, I'm done with you. You can leave now. Since you used to be my boss, I won't knock you out. I'll let you leave awake. Pinliang nodded after hearing that. Qibing was about to say that he was looking for someone when he thought of something. You didn't ask Yupan who to call me, did you? That's me. Zhong Pinliang nodded. What the fuck? Right, coiling tiger is too much, how dare he trick me? Qibing was pissed. Oh, I beat him up too. Pinliang said nonchalantly. He's worse off than you, he's unconscious. I see. Qibing felt much better after hearing that. He took out his phone and called the hidden house Zhao, asking them to pick him up. I'm going, it's time for me to report to my goddess. Pinliang said as he walked towards the economics building with Xiaofu in tow, his staff in hand. Yushu, on the other hand, had heard everything clearly and told Mengyao everything that had happened. You're saying that Zhong Pinliang joined the Everyday and Everyday sect and became their leader? Mengyao was shocked. And he got his hands on the golden cicada underwear as well? Is it because of this underwear that he can take a beating? That should be the case. Yushu nodded. That underwear, didn't Lin Yi give us one too? Mengyao remembered the low-class golden cicada underwear that Lin Yi won at the Hidden House Summit. But ours isn't as high-class as Zhong Pingliang's. Yeah, the underwear that Shield Bro 1 can only defend against Earth class and below, it's useless against Earth class and above. Yushu nodded. Lin Yi had wanted to wash the underwear and give it to Mengyao or Yushu for protection, but Qintian could take care of anyone below Earth class, so the golden cicada underwear was useless. He'd left it at home and never used it. So that's how Zhong Pingliang got so strong. He's just a cockroach that can't be killed, he doesn't have any real skills. Mengyao said. But that iron rod of his seems to be a little mysterious. Masters like Zhao Qibing and Right Coiling Tiger have chi protection, but Zhong Pingliang can still fight. Yeah, this guy has quite a lot of treasures on him. Yushu's eyes rolled around as she started thinking about Pingliang's treasures. Shu, you're not thinking about taking his stuff for yourself, are you? Mengyao knew Shu's expression all too well. One look and you could tell that she was after Pingliang's stuff. Ahahaha. Yushu laughed evilly. This is good stuff. So what if it's good stuff? You can't just take it from Pingliang's body, can you? Mengyao said helplessly. That's true, but we can think of something. Yushu said. No matter what, let's tell Lin Yi about what happened here so he can prepare himself. Let's see if he can think of a way to deal with Pingliang. Mengyao said. Yeah, that's a good idea. But wait, Pingliang's here again? Yushu said. As expected, not long after, Pingliang appeared in front of Mengyao and Yushu's classroom. Compared to how arrogant he was when he went to Coiling Tiger Right, Pingliang was much more well-behaved in front of Mengyao's classroom. The steel rod in his hand was disguised as a baseball bat, and it wasn't that eye-catching when he carried it on his shoulder. Pingliang walked up to Mengyao and Yushu with a smile on his face. Yao Shu, I've beaten up that Zhao Qibing. Is there anything else I can do for you? I heard you only broke Zhao Qibing's legs, didn't knock him out? You seem to have gone easy on him, is there something going on between you? Yushu asked. Pingliang paused. He didn't think that the news would spread so fast. Yushu knew about it right after he beat up Zhao Qibing. Did she have eyes and ears nearby? But when he thought about it, it made sense that Lin Yi would arrange bodyguards around Mengyao and Yushu. With that thought, Pingliang started to put up his guard. He wasn't afraid of being ambushed, but the feeling of being watched was very uncomfortable. That's not it. Pingliang quickly explained. Actually, I heard that Lin Yi likes to break Zhao Qibing's legs, right? That's why I copied Lin Yi. That won't do. If you copy Shield Bro, we only need Shield Bro. Why would we need a fake version like you? Yushu said with a wave of her hand. Liang Yi, your next step is to surpass Shield Bro in all aspects. For the latest chapters, please log in, it's a pleasure to read. I recommend you bookmark it. For more full-text novels, download. Chapter 2494. It felt so good to watch it without ads. Well, of course. Pingliang quickly nodded. Shu, what do you think I should do next? Next. I haven't thought of what to do yet. Just wait. Yushu said, I'll let you know when I'm done. I see. Then when can I become Yao Yao's bodyguard? Pingliang asked impatiently. I say, Liang Yi, haven't you heard of this saying? Haste makes waste. Do you know how long Shield Bro had been with Yao Yao for Yao Yao to accept him? Yushu humphed. Didn't you see how much Yao Yao begged Shield Bro at the beginning? She even used you to teach him a lesson in school. Yeah. Pingliang remembered what had happened back in school. That was indeed the case. Back when he, Naipeo, and Gao Xiaofu were causing trouble for Lin Yi, Mengyao and Yushu had been very excited about it. That meant that Mengyao had taken a long time to accept Lin Yi as her bodyguard, and that meant that replacing Lin Yi's position wasn't something that could be achieved in 1 or 2 days. So, Liang Yi, you should be grateful that I didn't encourage Yao Yao to get people to hurt you. It's good enough that I didn't stop you. If you're so impatient, I won't help you anymore. Yushu threatened. Don't, please don't. Pingliang was really scared. Shu sis, you know me? I've always listened to you. It's always been like this and it's still the same now. Look, you told me to buy spicy skewers and I did. I'm always listening to you. Yes, I'll try my best. But you need to be strong yourself. Go back and wait for my news. I'll let you know when I think of the next mission, Yushu said. Alright, I'll leave first, Shu sis. Pingliang nodded to Yushu respectfully before leaving with Gao Xiaofu. Lin Yi listened to Mengyao's story and felt a headache coming on. Pingliang had gotten a golden cicada undergarment from the Everyday and Everyday sect? Moreover, it seems to be a high-grade item that can resist the attacks of powerhouses under the heaven rank. Isn't this a bit too amazing? Not only that, he also had an iron rod that could break through the protection of Jin Qi. Wasn't this a legendary divine weapon? Pingliang had gained quite a lot from this. It seemed like the Everyday and Everyday sect really valued him, or rather valued Zhang Naipeo for Naipeo's sake. Had Naipeo recovered? Linny hadn't heard from Naipeo in a long time. He'd crippled him last time. Could it be that he'd recovered after going back and was able to continue? With that thought, Lin Yi's face turned solemn. It seemed like he couldn't underestimate the everyday sect. They were an ancient sect after all, able to recover from wounds like Naipeo's. Of course, this was all Lin Yi guessed from Pinliang's situation. If Naipeo wasn't fine and able to continue, then he'd be useless. The everyday sect wouldn't care about Naipeo at all. Zhang Naipeo's the strong now? Lin Yi took a deep breath. He didn't say it, but he was worried. Would he be able to deal with him? Although he was currently in the Earth stage, he could activate a martial skill equivalent to a Heaven stage expert. Yeah, Lin Yi, do you have a way to beat him? Mengyao asked. Yushu could deal with Pinliang for a while, but it wouldn't be for long. Once Pinliang came, Lin Yi would have to deal with him. Hard to say. Lin Yi frowned. I don't know much about the golden cicada underwear. I'll ask Han Xiaopa later. But don't provoke him for now, just let Shu deal with him. We'll talk about it when I get back. Alright, I understand. Shu can still stall for some time. It's not too urgent, don't worry too much. Mengyao comforted. Yeah, I know. I'll think of something. Lin Yi said. Alright, I won't disturb you anymore. Be careful. Mengyao said. Ah, okay. Lin Yi hung up the phone with a smile. The miss still couldn't let go of herself in front of him. She was more concerned about him now, but Lin Yi still felt like something was missing. Was it? It seemed like that was the case. The two were a little too polite, but it was nothing. Lin Yi turned around and left the room. He had two things to do. One was to trade the ice crystal for the earth element sky class blood from the sky class, and the other was to find Han Xiaopa to research the golden cicada underwear. He came to Han Xiaopa's room and knocked on the door. Boss. Han Xiaopa saw Lin Yi through the peephole and quickly opened the door. He didn't expect Lin Yi to find him so soon. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi had to deal with Yang Qiqi first, then Xiaoka. The night would be gone by then. He walked into Han Xiaopa's room and Han Xiaopa closed the door behind him. Boss, did you take care of things on your side? Haha, it's done. Lin Yi smiled. I have something to ask you. Boss, don't say that. Just say it. I'll tell you everything I know. Han Xiaopa quickly said. It's about the golden cicada underwear. Do you know about this thing? Lin Yi asked. I do. Didn't you win one at the Hidden House Summit? Han Xiaopa nodded. I did, but it's a low-tier golden cicada underwear. It can only defend against attacks from those below Earth class. Lin Yi nodded. Do you know what golden cicada underwear is? It can defend against attacks from those below Sky class? Oh? Boss, you're talking about mid-tier golden cicada underwear? Mid-tier golden cicada underwear can defend against attacks from those below Sky class. Han Xiaopa said. But this thing is a treasure. Only those powerful blacksmiths and Sky class golden cicada spirit beasts could make it. Mid-tier golden cicada underwear. Lin Yi nodded. Then there's also a high-tier one? The legends say that if you wear it, you'll be invincible under the heavenly Tao. Of course, that's just a legend. Whether or not it really exists and who has it, I've never heard of it. Han Xiaopa smiled bitterly. After all, this thing is too heaven-defying. If it were to appear in the world, there would be a bloodbath for it. Oh, that's true. Lin Yi took in a cold breath. To be continued. For the latest chapters, please log in. Reading is a pleasure. I recommend you bookmark it. For more full-text novels, download. Chapter 2495. If there really was such a thing, then wouldn't it be invincible? Only the legendary elites in the Tao of Heaven could hurt the person wearing the high-grade golden cicada undergarment. Boss, why are you suddenly asking this? Han Xiaopa asked curiously. Did someone bring out this treasure to trade in this trade fair? No, I didn't. One of my old enemies joined the everyday sect as a disciple, and got a mid-level golden cicada undergarment. I don't know how to deal with him. Lin Yi didn't hide anything from Han Xiaopa. That's not good. Han Xiaopa thought about it but couldn't think of anything. He shook his head. I've only heard of it, I've never seen it before. The Hidden House Han doesn't have any records of it either. Yeah, I'll think of something myself, Lin Yi nodded. If it comes down to it, I'll have to ask Old Pai to do it. If Lin Yi really couldn't beat Pinliang, he'd have to ask Old Pai to intimidate him. Lin Yi didn't have any other ideas right now. That's good, Sky-class masters are actually the best counter to mid-tier golden cicada underwear, Han Xiaopa said. One more thing, how do we find the practitioners who set up their stalls during the day? Lin Yi asked. Practitioners who set up their stalls during the day? What do you want to trade, boss? Han Xiaopa asked. The blood of the Earth Element Sky Class Spirit Beast. Lin Yi said. You should remember, the cool girl in the black leather shirt and pants asked about that thing. Oh, it's that thing. Han Xiaopa nodded. We'll have to go to the reception downstairs to check. Some traders will register the items they want to trade when they register their room number. This is also to hide the trade. Some practitioners who aren't strong enough don't want to trade in public because they're afraid of being targeted. Then let's go take a look, Lin Yi said. Okay, but he might not register it. Han Xiaopa said as he left the room with Lin Yi. Well, let's wait and see. Lin Yi was just trying. If it didn't work out, he would think about it tomorrow. The two went downstairs together. When they arrived at the reception desk on the first floor, Han Xiaopa asked, Hello, I would like to ask if there are any customers registered to trade for the blood of an Earth Attribute Heaven Rank Spirit Beast? Sir, please wait a moment. Let me check for you, the waiter said. All right. Han Xiaopa nodded. The waiter skillfully searched for the information of the transaction item that Han Xiaopa had mentioned, and then said, Yes, there is indeed this information on the registration level. Can we trade with him? Han Xiaopa asked. Wait a moment. Let me ask. With that said, the waiter dialed an internal number. After getting a positive response from the other side, he said to Han Xiaopa, Yes, but please show me your room card information first. I have to make a registration. Han Xiaopa and Lin Yi took out their room cards and handed them to the attendant. The purpose of this was to ensure the safety of the transaction process. If there was any dispute, they could still find each other. After the attendant registered, he said to Han Xiaopa, The trader is waiting for you in room 4109. Please take the elevator this way. Thank you. Han Xiaopa and Lin Yi took back their room cards, and then the two of them took the elevator and went upstairs. The two of them stopped in front of room 4109. Lin Yi knocked on the door. The voice of the Heaven Rank cultivator that they had met during the day came out, Please come in. Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa pushed the door open and entered. It seemed that the Heaven Rank cultivator had already made preparations to welcome the guests. There was a tea set on the coffee table and hot water was also prepared. Please take a seat. Do you want to trade the blood of an Earth Attribute Heaven Rank Spirit Beast? The Heaven Rank cultivator pointed to the sofa at the side and went straight to the point. He was a Heaven Rank expert, so he was naturally not afraid of Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa. There were only a few Heaven Rank experts that came to this trade fair, and he knew all of them. Yes. Lin Yi nodded and sat on the sofa with Han Xiaopa. Please have some tea. The Heaven Rank cultivator pointed to the tea set on the coffee table, not intending to pour tea for Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa himself. But it was no wonder. He was a Heaven Rank cultivator, so it was normal for him to have a high and mighty attitude. Since the two of you are here, I'm sure you know my rules? I only want to trade for something from a Water Attribute Heaven Rank Spirit Beast. The Heaven Rank cultivator didn't come out. Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa were the ones that followed Yang Qiqi during the day. He had been focusing on Yang Qiqi during the day, so he didn't have much of an impression of Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa. After all, there were a lot of practitioners that looked at his stuff. He couldn't remember them all. He only had some impression of Yang Qiqi who wanted to trade. That's right. Lin Yi nodded again, but you're using the blood of an Earth Attribute Heaven Rank Spirit Beast to trade for something from a Water Attribute Heaven Rank Spirit Beast. It looks like a fair trade, but you're the one asking for a favor. Shouldn't you pay more? Haha, since you're here to trade, then the blood of an Earth Attribute Heaven Rank Spirit Beast should be useful to you as well, right? How could you say I'm asking for a favor? The Heaven Rank cultivator wasn't stupid. He smiled and said directly. I won't hide it from you. I'm only an Earth Class Mid-Phase Peak and my friend is only an Earth Class Early Phase. One of us is a fire element, and the other is a wood element. Lin Yi said as he used the first form of Frenzy Fist to prove his words. Han Xiaopa, naturally, used a wood element to prove Lin Yi's words. The Heaven Rank cultivator looked at the arts and strength of Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa, and went silent. Lin Yi was right. The blood of an Earth Attribute Heaven Rank Spirit Beast wasn't that useful to them. To tell you the truth, I'm actually an opportunist. Lin Yi said, I have something from a Water Attribute Heaven Rank Spirit Beast, but I don't need it. I'm here to trade with you because I want to get more benefits. What? You really have it? The Heaven Rank cultivator suddenly stood up and looked at Lin Yi in surprise. He had been looking for something from a Water Attribute Heaven Rank Spirit Beast for many years. Suddenly hearing that Lin Yi had something like that, he was naturally overjoyed. I came here and said all this, so of course I have it. Lin Yi smiled. So that's how it is. The Heaven Rank cultivator slowly nodded. Since you've made it very clear that you want more benefits, I won't bargain with you. Can I take a look at your goods first? As long as it's what I need, everything's negotiable. To be continued. Chapter 2496. Of course, that's not a problem. Lin Yi reached into his pocket and took out the small bottle containing the ice crystal turtle saliva. He handed it to the Heaven Tier Cultivator and said, "It's here." The Heaven Tier Cultivator took a deep breath and carefully took the small bottle from Lin Yi's hand. He opened it and was immediately overjoyed. That's right, he could feel the powerful water attribute energy contained in the small bottle. This was what he had been dreaming of. He was so excited that his hands were trembling. I finally found it. With it, I can modify the attributes of divine weapons. Resisting the urge to snatch it, the Heaven Tier Cultivator carefully capped the bottle and placed it on the tea table. He said, "Since you have raised your conditions, I will tell you the truth. My things are all here. You can take any one of them, including the blood of the earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast." With that, the Heaven Tier Cultivator opened a bag and placed it in front of Lin Yi. The small bottle containing the blood of the earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast was also inside. It wasn't that the Heaven Tier Cultivator didn't want to snatch Lin Yi's things. It was because the purpose of the cultivator market was to ensure fairness and justice in transactions. If there was a problem, then the Cultivator Trade Association would definitely pursue the matter. Although he was a Heaven Tier Cultivator, there were even more powerful Heaven Tier Cultivators in the Cultivator Trade Association. Moreover, the thing he had been looking for so many years had appeared. He didn't want to complicate matters. Anyway, the blood of the earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast was of little value to him. In fact, even if he wanted to snatch it, Lin Yi wasn't afraid of him. Since Lin Yi dared to come, he naturally had the confidence to escape unscathed. Spiritual beast core? Lin Yi looked at the Heaven Tier Cultivator's bag in surprise. A round bead said in surprise, "Oh, you want this thing?" The Heaven Tier Cultivator looked at Lin Yi in surprise and said, "This is the core of that earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast. When I found it, it had just been killed by an enemy spirit beast, so I collected a bottle of its blood and retrieved its inner core." "Then you only took one bottle of blood? What about the other things?" Lin Yi asked with some pity. "When it was killed by the spirit beast, its blood had almost dried up. It took me a lot of effort to collect a small bottle." The Heaven Stage Cultivator looked at Lin Yi and smiled bitterly. "Otherwise, do you think I wouldn't bring more back? Moreover, there's nothing special on it." "I see." Lin Yi nodded and said, "Then I want this beast core and that bottle of earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast blood." "Alright, deal." The Heaven Stage Cultivator readily agreed. This inner core was also useless to him. "Alright." Lin Yi picked up the small bottle and the inner core. He stood up with Han Xiaopa and said, "Since the deal is done, we'll be leaving. I won't see you out." The Heaven Rank Cultivator nodded and then impatiently picked up the bottle of turtle spit ice crystals that Lin Yi had given him and impatiently studied it. Lin Yi smiled. He left the room with Han Xiaopa and walked towards their own room. "Boss, you brought this back for that cool girl?" Han Xiaopa was a little surprised at Lin Yi's actions. He didn't know why. "Yeah." Lin Yi nodded. "She wants this. It's for treating someone, and..." At this point Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. Yang Qiqi wanted to treat Little Nine. Little Nine? Lin Yi thought of someone. Could it be her? Hacker Princess? He remembered Yang Qiqi's identity. She was an assassin from Butterfly Castle. The Hacker Princess was also from Butterfly Castle, and her nickname was Little Nine. She was also sick. Could it be that Yang Qiqi was really looking for something to treat her? At this point Lin Yi felt that this was very likely. Otherwise it would be too much of a coincidence. If that was the case, then he wouldn't just be helping Yang Qiqi, but his old friend. The thought of the Hacker Princess gave Lin Yi a headache. He hadn't contacted her in a long time. Would she be angry if he did? After some thought, Lin Yi gave up on the idea of calling her to get to the bottom of things. Whether it was her or not, Lin Yi only had one more reason to help Yang Qiqi. "I see. But boss, you're just too kind. Just because of this, you're giving the blood of an Earth Element Sky class to that cool girl." Han Xiaopa said sincerely. "You brat, you're just taking advantage of me. I help you level up, but can't I give something to someone else?" Lin Yi smiled. "Ah, of course not." Han Xiaopa was a little embarrassed. "Let's go get some rest. There's probably nothing much to do today," Lin Yi said. It was a quiet night, and the next morning, Lin Yi saw Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka dressed neatly in front of his room. There was also a very tired Yang Qiqi, her eyes a little red. Evidently, Qiqi hadn't slept well last night. Before Lin Yi left the room, Chi-Chi had been glaring at Xiaoke. If looks could kill, Xiaoke would be dead already. Xiaoke, however, didn't even look at Chi-Chi. She sympathized with her, but Xiaoke wasn't a magnanimous person. This girl wanted to steal something from Lin Yi, and what right did she have? And so, Xiaoke didn't even look at her. Chi-Chi's glare was useless. Chi-Chi couldn't find a way to vent her frustration. All she could do was glare at Lin Yi, but Lin Yi didn't seem to care. He nodded to Han Xiaope. What time does the auction start? 9. Let's go get something to eat now? Han Xiaope asked. Okay, Lin Yi said. Chi-Chi didn't know that Lin Yi had let her steal the blue crystal on purpose, and thought that she'd been exposed. Lin Yi didn't say anything, but Chi-Chi knew that the chances were slim. She didn't even know why she followed Lin Yi around. Was it because she wanted to steal the blue crystal again, or was it because she wanted to kill Lin Yi for humiliating her? Chi-Chi felt like her brain was a mess. She was like a walking corpse as she followed Lin Yi to the restaurant. Lin Yi ordered 4 servings of breakfast and Chi-Chi sat there, not refusing any. She ate her portion but didn't say anything. Han Xiaope didn't say anything either. He knew that Lin Yi had gotten back what Chi-Chi needed, but if Lin Yi didn't say anything, Han Xiaope wouldn't say anything. He thought that Lin Yi wanted to teach Chi-Chi a lesson. Actually, Lin Yi really didn't want to teach Chi-Chi a lesson. But with Xiaoke here, Lin Yi didn't want to treat Chi-Chi too well. Chapter 2497. The surprise came from Xiaoke was interested in the male thief, and if he cared too much about young Chi-Chi, Xiaoke might get hurt. // and so, Lin Yi was going to return the item to young Chi-Chi when there was no one around. After the 4 of them finished their breakfast, they walked towards the auction venue. There weren't many people entering the auction venue, only about 100 or so people. It seemed like many of the people who had participated in the market square didn't come to the auction. These people were still keen on setting up stalls to trade for goods. The items for auction were all written on the notice board outside the venue. Of course, there were some people who didn't want to attend the auction because there wasn't anything they wanted. At this moment, Lin Yi, Han Xiaope, and the others were standing in front of the notice board, looking at the items being auctioned. There was no doubt that there would be a large number of elixirs for sale in this auction. Some of them were provided by Lin Yi, and the rest should be provided by the Hidden House of You. The number was about the same as what Lin Yi provided, but there were some additional level 1 and 2 elixirs for other purposes. Lin Yi skimmed through the names of the pills, his eyes finally stopping on pure topaz. There really was pure topaz being sold at this auction. It seemed like Han Xiaope's information was true. In actuality, the Cultivator Trade Association would always leak some information about what was going to be auctioned, so it wasn't a big deal for Han Xiaope to know about it beforehand. Lin Yi and the others entered the auction venue and found an empty seat. Han Xiaope was just about to sit next to Lin Yi when he realized that Xiaoke was already sitting next to Lin Yi, and Yang Chi-Chi was about to sit on the other side. Han Xiaope smiled bitterly and sat next to Yang Chi-Chi. It was around 8:50 and most of the people had arrived. The vice chairman of Heaven class that Lin Yi had met at the entrance walked up to the stage with the pawnbroker. The Heaven rank vice leader sat on the side while the pawnbroker stood beside the Heaven rank vice leader. He picked up the microphone and said to the cultivators participating in the auction, "Welcome everyone to the auction organized by the Cultivator Trade Association. I'm Lu Xianxing, known as Mr. Lu in the pugilistic world. I'm also the auctioneer for this auction." Obviously, the people below the stage were not surprised that Lu Xianxing was on the stage as the auctioneer. It could be seen that he was the one who presided over the previous auctions. Although it was Lin Yi's first time participating, he had met him when he sent the pills to be auctioned previously, so there was nothing strange about it. "Alright, since no one has any objections, let's begin the auction." Lu Xianxing said, "According to the previous rules, the first item to be auctioned is the elixir from the Hidden Yu family. This is also the item that occupies a large proportion of the auction every time. However, today's elixirs did not completely come from the Hidden Right family. There's also another seller who put up some pills for auction." Wow! Lu Xianxing's words caused an uproar. Everyone was shocked. Which sect or family had the ability to provide elixirs to the Cultivator Trade Association? Could it be the Heavenly Elixir sect? However, although the Heavenly Elixir sect also provided elixirs to the Cultivator Trade Association, they only provided some high-grade elixirs. Moreover, the number of elixirs they provided was scarce. They would not auction them in such a low-level market. Instead, they would auction them in other large-scale cultivator auctions. This low-end elixir business had always been monopolized by the Hidden Yu family. Even if the Heavenly Elixir sect refined these low-end elixirs, they would hand them over to the Hidden Yu family to auction. As for the other sects and families, They had never heard of anyone who could refine a large number of elixirs. Below the stage, a young man raised his eyebrows and looked at Lu Xianxing unhappily. This person was from the Hidden Right family. He was also the young man who had been arrogant and despotic at the entrance of the cultivator's market to clear the way for the heaven stage expert who was a short robber. However, everyone doesn't have to be surprised. According to my appraisal, the elixirs provided by the other seller are not inferior to the elixirs provided by the Hidden Yu family in terms of quality and purity. They are even more balanced. There is no difference in quality between each elixir. Lu Xianxing threw out another bombshell. What? The cultivators below the stage exclaimed after hearing it. As everyone knew, although the Hidden Yu family was an alchemy family and many earth-level elixirs were provided to them by the Heavenly Elixir sect, not to mention that these elixirs were refined by different alchemy masters. Even the same alchemy master couldn't guarantee the same quality every time he refined the elixir. Maybe if the condition was good, the quality of the elixir would be excellent. If the condition was bad, the quality of the elixir would be worse. Forming the elixir was the most basic requirement. However, after forming the elixir, the purity and quality were still different. However, every auction was a mixed auction. It was impossible to let the auctioneer pick the good and the bad. It could only be determined by luck. But now, Lu Xianxing said that there was no difference in quality between the elixirs provided by the new seller. What kind of concept was this? How amazing was the alchemy master to be able to do this? Perhaps even the elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect couldn't do it, right? Other than the famous elder of the Shintian sect, perhaps only the medical Saint Zhang Liju could do it. Now, there was actually someone who could refine elixirs of the same quality? Everyone, don't be in a hurry to be shocked. I still have something to add, and that is, every single one of these pills is of the highest quality. You don't have to try your luck or gamble on your luck. You can directly buy them and bring them home. It was undeniable that Lu Xianxing's words were very provocative. It made many people's hearts stir after hearing it. However, the young man from the Hidden Yu family's face was even uglier. In the past, the Hidden Yu family was the backbone of every auction. Seeing their elixirs being bought by cultivators at high prices, the Hidden Yu family was very happy. But this time, there was an accident, and it was when the young man and his granddaughter were in charge. Naturally, he was very unhappy. They are all of the highest quality. Even if the price is higher, it's fine. A cultivator sitting below the stage suddenly said. Nonsense, the price will definitely be higher. Everyone knows that it is the highest quality, so naturally they will pay more, another cultivator immediately said. It was just that Lin Yi felt that these two people were hired by the Cultivator Trade Association, but it didn't matter. The situation in front of him would only benefit Lin Yi. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to question them. Chapter 2504 School Bells Bodyguard Free Reading Chapter 2504 End of Bringing Surprises, Part 2. Chapter 2498. I don't believe it. Although some people thought that the two people who suddenly spoke might be fake, what they said was not wrong. It was reasonable for the best quality medicinal pills to have a higher price. I don't believe it. It's impossible for someone to send better quality medicinal pills than us. You know, the medicinal pills this time are provided by the Heavenly Elixir sect. Do you mean that someone's medicinal pills are better than the Heavenly Elixir sect's? The young man finally couldn't help but stand up and ask. In the past auctions, the representatives of the Hidden Right family would always receive a lot of admiring gazes from other cultivators. However, this time the same situation did not happen to the young man. He had coaxed and pestered his grandfather for a long time before he could attend this auction. In order to enjoy the admiring gazes of others, he had practiced acting tough for several days. He was prepared to say a few words when everyone was rushing to buy the elixir pills. Now that he had no place to use his skills, he suddenly became angry. Pan Gao, if you don't believe me, you can come and appraise it. Lu Xianxing glanced at the young man and said faintly, "You're welcome." The young man hesitated a little. His grandfather was the guest elder of the Yu family. Because of his heaven stage strength, he was allowed to learn alchemy from the Yu family. He was also given the name, Pan. Now he was considered a first-grade alchemist. Although his alchemy level was not satisfactory, he still had the ability to distinguish the quality of medicinal pills. So, when Lu Xianxing made this proposal, he really wanted to go forward and verify the authenticity. He really didn't believe that someone's alchemy level was so high. Moreover, he knew the source of this batch of medicinal pills from the Yu family. It was sent by the Heavenly Elixir sect. So, even if someone's alchemy level surpassed the Hidden Yu family, it couldn't be better than the Heavenly Elixir sect, right? Hee if you don't come and appraise it, then our auction will continue. Lu Xianxing said with a slight smile. He didn't want to offend the Hidden Yu family. After all, Lin Yi's medicinal pills of good quality might still be available in the future. So, the business between the Cultivator Trading Association and the Hidden Yu family still had to continue. It was all for the sake of getting a good price for these pills. Firstly, it was to express his goodwill to Lin Yi and see if they could work together for a long time. Secondly, it was to earn more commission for himself. Alright then. Since Mr. Lu has invited me so strongly, I shall act as the appraiser for everyone. Right Pangao made his decision in an instant. He stood up and walked slowly to the stage. The movement of the right arm. No one objected. After all, Mr. Lu had only been boasting about himself. After the auction ended, they had no way of finding fault with him. After all, the concept of a pill's quality was too vague. Whatever others said made sense. Of course, the reason why Right Pangao dared to go on stage was because his grandfather, the short robber, wasn't here. The short robber was actually here to hold the fort. After safely escorting the pills to this place, he spent the rest of the time cultivating in his room. He left everything to his grandson to handle. If the shorty was here, Right Pangao wouldn't go on stage so easily. He had to pretend to be well behaved. It's here. Mr. Gao on the right, please appraise it for us. Lu Xianxing pushed a bunch of small bottles towards Right Pangao, indicating that he could take a few out for inspection. Right Pangao didn't stand on ceremony. He randomly picked up a small bottle and opened it. Inside was a small qi-gathering pill. Although he couldn't refine it, he was very familiar with it. Right Pangao's expression changed immediately. The small qi-gathering pill was round in shape. Its color was even and full. There were 2 faintly discernible lines on it, proving that it was a second-grade pill. These were all the characteristics of a supreme-grade pill. Right Pangao naturally recognized it. Of the pills he sent over, only a few could reach this quality. The rest were either uneven in color, oval in shape, or had no lines. Of course, these only affected the final effect of the pill. It didn't mean that there was no effect. In other words, the effect was just slightly weaker. It must be a fluke. Yu Pangao thought that he had casually picked up the best one, but the others might not be as good. So, he quickly picked up another small bottle and opened it to check. However, his expression changed again. This was a small qi-gathering pill. Its quality was basically the same as the previous one. They were both supreme grade. Right Pangao took a deep breath. He put down the small bottle in his hand and opened another bottle further away. This time it was a small Huan pill, but it was still supreme grade. Impossible, definitely impossible. Right Pangao's movements became faster and faster. He basically opened half of the small bottles in front of him, but all of them were supreme grade. Right Pangao panted heavily, unwilling to give up. His eyes were wide open, filled with shock and disbelief. How is it, Mr. Gao on the right? Can you announce the results of your appraisal? Lu Xianxing smiled. This. Right Pangao hesitated. However, he didn't dare to speak carelessly in this situation. He could only bite the bullet and say, yes, they are all supreme grade pills. In fact, everyone had already guessed this result from Right Pangao's expression. However, when Right Pangao said it, everyone believed it. These cultivators didn't care about the Hidden Yu family's reputation. They only wanted to buy better things that were more useful to them. Hence, they were all eager to participate in the auction. Mr. Gao on the right, thank you for your appraisal. You can go back now. Lu Xianxing gestured for everyone to leave. Then he said to everyone, all right, let's start the auction. Yu Pangao walked back to his seat gloomily, and the auction had officially begun. As expected, the elixirs that Lin Yi sent were auctioned at an average price of 15 million, while the Hidden House Yu's elixirs remained at the previous price of 10 million, no more, no less. However, although the price did not decrease, Right Pangao's expression was ugly with jealousy. Someone had stolen the Hidden Yu family's business. In previous auctions, the Hidden Yu family's pills were very popular. The supply could not meet the demand. However, this time at the end of the auction, no one bid. Obviously, those who wanted to buy the pills had already bought them. Seeing that the situation was not right, Lu Xianxing had no choice but to let the remaining pills go unsold. Lin Yi's goal here was to get the pure topaz. The other items didn't have much use to him, so he closed his eyes and rested while the others were auctioning off their items. He'd only be able to focus when the pure topaz was auctioned off. Chapter 2505, School Bell's Bodyguard Free Reading under Chapter 2505 I don't believe it. Update complete. Chapter 2499. The next item to be auctioned is pure topaz. Lu Xianxing took a small box from the hands of a disciple and opened it in front of everyone, revealing the contents inside. He then said, I don't need to introduce the uses of pure topaz. Everyone should know that pure jade is something that must be used to modify heaven-ranked divine weapons. This piece of pure topaz is not small. The starting price is 10 million, and each bid must not be less than 1 million. Alright, let the auction begin. Lin Yi's eyes immediately lit up. Although Lu Xianxing described the size of the pure topaz, in reality the pure topaz was really not big. It was only the size of a fist. However, the market price of this kind of pure topaz was already high. 10 million was really not a lot. Of course, the auction could not be completed with the starting price, especially in this kind of place. Before Lin Yi could even bid, someone had already bid. 15 million. A cultivator raised the number plate in his hand and said directly. Lin Yi looked towards the direction of the voice. He did not expect it to be the heaven-rank cultivator who exchanged for the turtle spit ice crystal. After he went back, it was obvious that he wanted to modify weapons. At this time, it was reasonable to bid for pure topaz. It was not a rare thing. However, Lin Yi secretly regretted it. If he knew that this guy would interfere, it would be better to wait for the auction to end before exchanging with him. Before he obtained the turtle spit ice crystal, he might not be enthusiastic enough to bid for a piece of pure topaz. 20 million. Another voice sounded. It was actually Right Pangao. Lin Yi did not expect this pure topaz to be so popular. Even Right Pangao wanted it? 21 million. Another thin and tall cultivator bid, but the increment was not as fierce as the previous two. 25 million. The heaven-rank cultivator bid again. 30 million. Right Pangao also raised his hand and bid. 31 million. The thin and tall cultivator hesitated for a moment and also bid. This pure topaz appreciated very quickly. It appreciated faster than the previous auction items. In the blink of an eye, it had already exceeded 30 million. From the looks of it, the price was still rising. Lu Xianxing's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. This situation was what he was most happy to see. The auction was not afraid of people bidding. What they were afraid of was no one bidding for the item. It was the same pure-colored jade. It had appeared in previous auctions, but sometimes it was sold at a low price of more than 10 million, which made Lu Xianxing's heart bleed. After all, a piece of pure-colored jade could be sold for a similar price in the jewelry market, let alone a cultivator's auction. But this thing was just a coincidence. Lu Xianxing also understood that when there was no one to buy it, no matter how good it wasn't money. When there was someone to buy it, even if it wasn't worth much, it was still money. 35 million. The heaven-rank cultivator raised the price once again. 50 million. Yu Pangao looked impatiently at the heaven-ranked cultivator. Although he knew that this person was a heaven-ranked cultivator, in his opinion, how could an itinerant cultivator be a match for the hidden Yu family? Therefore, Right Pangao directly threw out a high price of 50 million. When the Heaven Realm cultivator heard Pangao's bid, he seemed very angry. But he was a heaven-rank rogue cultivator. Although he didn't rely on any family or sect, he made a lot of money as a bodyguard for a wealthy merchant. Occasionally he would also secretly accept some international bounty hunter missions, accumulating a considerable amount of wealth. 60 million. The heaven-ranked cultivator called out his bid again. If it wasn't for the fact that he urgently needed jade to refine weapons, he wouldn't spend 60 million on these things. Wouldn't that be like having nowhere to spend his money? The tall and skinny man was stunned. He never thought that a pure yellow jade could be raised to a high price of 60 million. This was already beyond the limit of what he could bear. Therefore he shook his head and put down the sign in his hand. He gave up the bid. But Pangao was unwilling to give up. He didn't know what other people would use this pure yellow jade for, but he was determined to get it. Because this was a mission given by Old Master Yu, and he heard that it seemed to be related to the Heavenly Elixir sect. 80 million. Pangao was furious. Why was this person fighting with him? Why couldn't he buy anything? Why did he have to fight with me for this thing? 100 million. The heaven-ranked cultivator was also anxious. It wasn't that he had to buy it, but the opportunity was here. If he gave up and went back to look for pure jade, it wouldn't be worth it. Therefore he also called out a sky-high price. If he couldn't, he could only give up. After all, his strength wasn't as strong as the hidden Yu family. 110 million. Pangao continued to raise the price. No matter what, he was determined to get this pure yellow jade. The heaven-ranked cultivator gave up unwillingly. He put the sign in his hand on the table and didn't continue to raise the price. Although Lu Xianxing felt that it was a pity that no one continued to raise the price, It was rare for a pure yellow jade to be sold for more than 100 million. In the last auction, a pure purple jade was only sold for 32 million. It wasn't even a third of this time's price. 110 million going once. Lu Xianxing began to call out the price. 120 million. Lin Yi raised the sign in his hand. This price had already exceeded Lin Yi's expectations. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's previous elixirs that were sold for nearly 300 million, he would still be left with more than 200 million after deducting the commission. Otherwise Lin Yi wouldn't have the money to buy it. Jie. Pan Gao didn't expect that the heaven-ranked cultivator wouldn't come to compete with him. Instead, someone came out of nowhere and started to compete with him again. His face turned extremely ugly. He turned to look at Lin Yi, wanting to see if Lin Yi was hired by the auction. Lin Yi didn't bother with the Pan Gao on the right. He just sat there calmly after saying his price. 130 million. Pan Gao tried to test the waters, unwilling to give up. 131 million. Although Lin Yi had money, he couldn't spend it recklessly. Wouldn't it be better to give the extra money to Yu Xiaoke to develop the orphanage? Pan Gao heard Lin Yi's bidding method and was instantly enraged. Who would increase the price like this? Was it fun? Although the minimum price increase could be 1 million, in reality, once the price of an item reached a certain level, no one would do that. It was equivalent to purposely making things difficult for others. 150 million. Yu Pan Gao glared at Lin Yi. 151 million. Lin Yi said faintly, but he was a little anxious in his heart. Although he made a lot of money from elixirs, money shouldn't be squandered like this. In the blink of an eye, it was already 150 million. Although the materials of this elixir belonged to House Yu, and it was self-produced and sold. There wasn't much cost, but it was basically a one-off business. It was impossible to expect to get more materials from House Yu. Chapter 2500. He was speechless. 180 million. This pure topaz belongs to the hidden Yu family. Yu Pan raised his sign and looked at Lu Xianxing. Yu Pan Gao's intention was clear. He wanted Lu Xianxing to make the final decision as soon as possible. He called out 180 million. This was already giving the Cultivator Trading Association enough face. It suddenly increased from 150 million to nearly 30 million. Lu Xianxing smiled bitterly in his heart. He didn't expect to face these two people in the end. One was from the hidden Yu family, and the other was the person who consigned the elixirs. He really didn't know how to choose. If it was any other time, he would give Yu Pan Gao face and make the final decision. But now, doing so was equivalent to offending a potential big supplier of the Cultivator Trading Association. 181 million. Lin Yi frowned secretly. If this continued, he definitely wouldn't be Yu Pan Gao's opponent. The hidden Yu family was rich. Kid, it seems that you are deliberately going against the hidden Yu family? Yu Pan Gao was furious. He stood up and stared at Lin Yi fiercely. I have already said that this pure topaz belongs to the hidden Yu family. What a joke. Lin Yi said coldly, the rule of the auction is that the highest bidder wins. I have never heard of anyone saying that this thing belongs to me and no one will compete. However, if you insist that I am going against the hidden Yu family, then so be it. Yu Pan Gao glared at Lin Yi. His chest heaved up and down. After a while, he said to Lu Xianxing, 200 million. Kid, if you know what's good for you, give this thing to me. 201 million. Lin Yi raised the sign with his right hand, but his left hand didn't stop. He directly flicked a small stone that he picked up from the ground and shot it at Yu Pan Gao, who was not far away. This guy had raised the price to 200 million, and Lin Yi couldn't let him continue. If he did, he wouldn't have the money to pay. Therefore, after much consideration, Lin Yi could only think of such a method, which was to seal the acupoint of the right Pan Gao. Lu Xianxing wanted to make him temporarily speechless so that Lu Xianxing could make the final decision. 2. Right Pan Gao wanted to continue bidding, but he suddenly realized that he couldn't speak. Although he was a cultivator, what he cultivated was the mental cultivation method of an alchemist. His vigilance was relatively poor. He did not expect that Lin Yi would use a small stone to attack him, so he did not use his true qi to protect his body, and was directly hit on his acupoint. He was speechless. Yu Pan Gao's mouth gaped open in shock, but he could not utter a single word. Mr. Lu, since Pan Gao has stopped bidding, can we drop the hammer now? Lin Yi looked at Lu Xianxing and asked. Although Lu Xianxing found it strange that Pan Gao had stopped bidding with his mouth wide open, he still followed the rules of the auction and asked, 201 million going once. 201 million going twice. Ha. Ha. Pan Gao wanted to speak, but he couldn't. It was very difficult. The vice president of Heaven Division looked at Pan Gao and frowned. However, Lin Yi did it secretly, throwing the small stone at the same time he bid. At that time, everyone's attention was on him, so naturally no one looked at Pan Gao, not even the vice president of Heaven Division. They didn't notice this detail. It wasn't that he didn't notice it, but that he didn't pay attention at all. He was only here to hold the fort. In his opinion, no one would cause trouble at the auction, so it was even more impossible for him to pay attention to everyone in the auction. Moreover, the acupoint was a legendary martial art technique. Most cultivators had only heard of it but had never seen it before. They didn't know how to use it, so no one thought in this direction. 201 million going thrice sold. Lu Xianxing raised the small hammer and knocked it down, finalizing the deal. Congratulations to the winner. After the auction ends, come to me to complete the procedures. Wait. I bid. Not long after Lu Xianxing finished speaking, Pan Gao spoke again. I bid 210 million. You can't sell it to him. I'm sorry, I've already bid for it. Lin Yi looked at Pan Gao mockingly and said, What were you doing earlier? I suddenly couldn't speak. Pan Gao also felt that this matter was a bit strange. Why did he suddenly lose his ability to speak? In fact, Lin Yi's timing was impeccable, controlling the strength of the pressure point so that the right Pan Gao would be rendered speechless for a short period of time. When the time was over, the right Pan Gao would return to normal, and it wouldn't draw too much suspicion. A gentleman can't blame himself. If you can't speak, who are you blaming? Lin Yi glanced at Pan Gao, then turned his head and ignored him. Although the matter was a bit strange, Lu Xianxing wanted the auction to proceed normally. He didn't have time to study Pan Gao's matter, so he directly moved on to the next treasure. Pan Gao, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi hatefully. It didn't matter what the reason was, it didn't matter if it was Lin Yi's doing or not. This pure topaz was mine. I'll let you have it for a while, but it'll still end up in my hands in the end. I'll save a lot of money too. Pan Gao had already made up his mind to snatch it. He was prepared to wait for the auction to end, then let his grandfather do it. He wasn't very clear about what this pure topaz was used for. He only knew that this pure topaz was hidden, and the Pan Gao family was determined to get it. If anything went wrong, it would be hard for him and his grandfather to explain to the family. Especially after his grandfather had just carried out a mission and messed it up, they were even more eager to perform meritorious deeds to wash away the previous shame. Of course, the failure of the previous mission wasn't actually his grandfather's fault. The enemy was too strong and his grandfather had no choice. After the hidden, Pan Gao family knew the reason, they didn't say anything, but his grandfather felt a little embarrassed. The mission of this auction was simple and easy. He thought that it would be completed smoothly, but who would have thought that there would be someone who interfered? In the following auctions, because there wasn't anything that Lin Yi wanted, Lin Yi didn't pay too much attention to it. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye the auction was over. Lin Yi stood up and walked to the inner room at the back of the auction hall to settle the previously sold elixirs and purchase pure topaz. Most of the people at the auction didn't want to reveal their names and identities, especially when there were cultivators around. Therefore, other than a few people who swiped their cards, most people carried large suitcases with Swiss francs to carry out transactions. It seemed that this was a long-standing rule. The exchange rate of Swiss francs was relatively high, and the face value of banknotes was relatively large, so it was used as the currency used in the Cultivator Trading Association. Chapter 2507. School Bells Bodyguard Free Reading. Chapter 2507. I'm speechless. Update complete. Chapter 2501. Yang Qiqi's disappointment came from Lin Yi walked up to Lu Xianxing according to his number. You have an auction item and an auction item. Should we settle it together? Lu Xianxing looked at Lin Yi's number and asked. Let's settle it together, Lin Yi said. Okay. Lu Xianxing nodded and started calculating. He was vague about the auction item, but he didn't say what Lin Yi was auctioning. No one would suspect anything. After all, there were so many things in this auction. Who knew what Lin Yi was auctioning? Lu Xianxing calculated Lin Yi's bill and realized that he still owed Lin Yi 40 million. It was equivalent to 6 million Swiss francs, so he asked directly, Do you want a transfer or cash? Cash, Lin Yi said. He didn't want to expose his real identity yet. The longer people found out about his elixir refining, the better. With the relationship between House Yu and the Cultivator Trade Association, it wouldn't be hard to get information about Lin Yi. So, Lin Yi tried not to leave any information related to himself, such as his bank account number. Although Lin Yi had an anonymous account abroad, Lin Yi had used it many times. If someone wanted to contact him, it wouldn't be hard to contact Lin Yi. Okay. Lu Xianxing gave Lin Yi a piece of paper and the pure yellow jade that Lin Yi got from the auction. He said to Lin Yi, "Go to the window over there and get the cash." "Thank you." Lin Yi took the paper and put the pure yellow jade away carefully. He went to another window and passed the paper over. The disciple glanced at it and went to the inner room to prepare. After a while he came back with a suitcase and gave it to Lin Yi. "Sir, your money is here. You can count it." "No need." After Lin Yi took the suitcase he went straight to the door. The size of the suitcase was fixed. Even if it was only 10,000 Swiss francs, the Cultivator Trade Association would still use a large suitcase. This was also for the sake of secrecy. No one would be able to judge the amount of money inside from the size of the suitcase, and no one would be able to guess what the item was being auctioned. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to count the number on the spot. That would be tantamount to confessing. If someone added the price of the pure topaz from before, it wouldn't be difficult to imagine the total value of those pills. Moreover, Lin Yi did not believe that the Cultivator Trade Association would cheat in this aspect. Lu Xianxing didn't say anything, but after the vice president of Heaven Division saw Lin Yi leave, his eyes flashed. He didn't tell Lu Xianxing his plan. After all, although the Cultivator Trade Association was strong, it was an organization that emphasized fairness and justice. Lu Xianxing was also a relatively decent person. Although his position wasn't as high as the vice president, he was the chief auctioneer and appraiser of the market square. His status in the Cultivator Trade Association was also aloof. Even if the vice president of Heaven Division didn't give him face, he couldn't do anything to him. He was a special talent of the Cultivator Trade Association. Even the president would be polite to him. What the vice president of Heaven Division wanted to do was against the morality of the Cultivator Trade Association. His disciple was killed after failing to ask for a bribe. It didn't make sense for him to take revenge. If this was known by the president, he would definitely not let it go easily. Especially if the other hostile vice president knew about it, he would lose a layer of skin. So the vice president didn't plan on telling Lu Xianxing at all. After Lin Yi left, the vice president found an excuse and left the office. He had to plan to surround Lin Yi at the foot of the mountain. After Lin Yi left his seat, a lot of people prepared their positions. Yang Qiqi saw that the Heaven Division was about to leave. After hesitating for a moment, he quickly caught up and called out, "Senior, please wait." "It's you?" The Heaven Division turned around and saw Yang Qiqi. He still had an impression of Yang Qiqi. She was the girl who wanted to trade the blue crystal for the blood of an Earth Element Sky-class spirit beast. "Senior, my blue crystal. I don't have it on me right now, but don't worry, I'll get it as soon as I get home and trade it with you. Please don't give it to anyone else, I beg you," Yang Qiqi said sincerely. Lin Yi had taken the blue crystal, but Qiqi knew that there would be another blue crystal up for sale in the upcoming auction abroad. She'd go all out to get another blue crystal and bring it back to trade with the Sky class. "Haha, I'm sorry little girl, but I've already traded the blood away," the Sky class practitioner said to Qiqi. "So I can't trade with you anymore." "Ah? What?" Qiqi paled upon hearing the Sky class practitioner's words. "It's already been traded? How is that possible? How could this be? Last night someone brought something I needed and traded it with me. I couldn't refuse." The Heaven Division said, "So little girl, there's nothing I can do." "Ah? What did he trade with you?" Yang Qiqi asked. "It's what I need, something from a water element heaven class," the Heaven Division said. "Can you tell me who it was that traded the blood away?" Qiqi had no choice but to ask for the next best thing. "I can't tell you that, it's a personal secret. I can't reveal his identity without the person's permission." The Heaven Division shook his head. "Wasn't it the person sitting beside you fighting with Right Pangao for the yellow jade?" But he couldn't say that already. Lin Yi and Yang Qiqi looked like they knew each other, and they were even sitting together. But the more it was like that, the weirder the Heaven Division felt. The two were sitting together and Lin Yi hadn't told Yang Qiqi the truth. Wasn't that hiding something? And so, the Heaven Division wouldn't be the bad guy and reveal things like that. On the contrary, he was very grateful to Lin Yi for giving him what he needed, and even beating Pangao in the competition for the pure topaz, allowing him to vent some of his frustrations. Because Lin Yi had entered the competition later, the Heaven Division had already given up. He didn't hate Lin Yi at all. "I see." Yang Qiqi knew that she was forcing the Heaven Division. "All right little girl, I'll be leaving now." The Heaven Division turned around and left the auction house. Chapter 2508 The Campus Belle's Bodyguard is free. Yang Qiqi's disappointment update was complete. Chapter 2502. "You're Lin Yi?" From Chi looked at the back view of the man leaving, filled with sadness and regret. She couldn't stop the tears from flowing down her cheeks. She'd failed in the end. She couldn't get the blood, so what would happen to Lil Nine? Linny walked out from the back of the auction house and saw Chi talking to the Sky class from afar. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw Chi crying on the ground. This girl was an assassin, how could she be so weak? Coming out to do a mission like that? Shaking his head, Linny walked over to Chi quickly. Chi heard footsteps beside her and raised her head. It was Linny, and she pouted before lowering her head again, crying even harder. This guy was so evil. He was here to watch the show, wasn't he? You still have the blue crystal? Linny asked. Linny had heard the conversation between Chi and the Sky class, and he was very interested in the fact that Chi still had the blue crystal. What does that have to do with you? You're not going to steal my blue crystal, are you? Chi thought that Linny was going to steal her stuff again. She raised her head and glared at Linny. Don't think that you can bully me just because you're strong. Wait until my dad comes back, he won't let you get away with this. Linny didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Chi words. Was this a competition of fathers? What are you laughing at? I'm telling you, my dad's really strong. Even his disciple can beat you up half to death. Chi got even angrier at the sight of Linny laughing. She warned Linny fiercely. It's nothing. Linny shook his head helplessly as he took out the blood from his pocket and put it in Chi hand. This is... Chi stared at the bottle Linny had given her in disbelief, her eyes wide as she raised her head. Don't always bite the hand that feeds you in the future. Linny patted Chi's head. Looks like Mr. Dongwa's story was for nothing. You really have a bad memory. Not everyone is as kind as me. Huh? Chi paused and raised her head, a strange look on her face. What do you mean? There was an idiot who saved an injured girl on the road. The girl lost too much blood and almost died. Then the idiot saved the girl. That girl wanted to kill that idiot for looking at her body. There was also an idiot who saw a young girl fail a mission in Blue Town. He helped the young girl, but the young girl still seemed to hold a grudge against him. After a while, the idiot went to participate in the Ice Palace's trial and encountered that young girl again. That young girl had been robbed of her treasures. Thus, the idiot helped the girl find many treasures of heaven and earth, helping her complete the task. But after a certain period of time. But after a while, the girl tried to steal his blue crystal again? Linny told her about his encounters with Chi. Wow, you're that Linny? Chi's shocked face got even more colorful after hearing Lin Yi's words. She stared at Linny, speechless. She didn't understand what was going on. She never would have thought that this person would be her savior. Alright, go back early. This is my phone number. Call me if there's any news about the blue crystal. Linny gave Chi a piece of paper. Of course you can come to me for revenge, but not today. Leave as soon as possible. Someone's looking for trouble. Someone's looking for trouble? Are you okay? Do you need my help? Chi asked subconsciously. The person in front of her was Linny, and this kind of change changed Chi's heart as well. Chi's sudden change made Linny speechless. Was this girl suddenly caring about him? Linny shook his head with a smile. It's nothing. Just take care of yourself. Oh. Chi felt a little worried all of a sudden. She didn't know why, but the hatred she had for Linny was gone all of a sudden. Could it be that she was starting to like him? That couldn't be, right? She loved Brother Xiao Yi unwaveringly. How could she fall in love with someone else? That was impossible, absolutely impossible. Yes, he must have given her the blood of an Earth Element Sky class spirit beast, and she let him go because he could save Lil Nine. That had to be it. I'm leaving. Linny didn't linger. He realized that Han Xiaopa seemed to be in trouble as well. This trouble came from the hidden house Yu Pangao. He was pointing at Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka with an arrogant face. Who was that person sitting with you? Don't tell me you don't know him. Tell me and I'll only look for trouble with him. I won't do anything to you. You guessed right, we really don't know him. Han Xiaopa had been with Lin Yi for a while now and his temperament had changed. He was no longer the weak and cautious Han Xiaopa of the hidden house Yu. Although the hidden house Yu couldn't be compared to the hidden house Yu, as long as Lin Yi was on their side, the hidden house Yu wouldn't dare do anything to them. Pangao raged. He didn't think that this person would be this ignorant, rebutting him. Do you know who I am? I do. Aren't you called Pangao? Mr. Liu has said it many times. You're from the hidden house Yu. Han Xiaopa said faintly. Since you know I'm from the hidden house Yu, why are you going against me? Pangao raged. So what if I'm right? I'm not afraid to tell you that you're no match for me. Han Xiaopa was someone who only knew how to make pills. It was a piece of cake for him to beat Pan Gao. Who are you? Pan Gao was both shocked and angry. All right, aren't you looking for me? What are you yelling for? I didn't run away. I just went to get the pure topaz. Lin Yi patted Pan Gao's shoulder and said faintly. Pan Gao was still angry, but he jumped when Lin Yi suddenly patted him from behind. He went to find Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka because he was afraid that Lin Yi would run away. But now that Lin Yi was back, he didn't need to find anyone else. He turned to face Lin Yi. Why did you pat me? Do you know who I am? Chapter 2503. Do you have amnesia? He just told you that you are the hidden house use right Pan Gao and you turned around and forgot? With your IQ, don't run around on the streets. You'll get lost again. Lin Yi looked at Right Pan Gao mockingly. Kid who doesn't know how to talk fast. I just want to ask you one question. The hidden house you is determined to get the pure topaz. Are you going to let it go or not? Right Pan Gao asked. If you wanted to let it go, I would have let you have it just now. Lin Yi said, all right, if this is what you want, you can leave. Good, very good. I'll remember you. Right Pan Gao nodded and smiled instead of being angry. I want to see how long you can keep the pure topaz in your hands. With that, Right Pan Gao didn't wait for Lin Yi's reply. He turned around and left, quickly disappearing from Lin Yi's sight. However, Lin Yi knew that Right Pan Gao didn't really leave just like that. He probably asked his grandfather to think of a way to deal with him secretly. Lin Yi passed the box to Yu Xiaoka and said, this is for you. For me? Yu Xiaoka was stunned. And you and Han Xiaopa go down the mountain first. Wait for me at the parking lot. Lin Yi told Yu Xiaoka and Han Xiaopa. There were many people at the parking lot at the bottom of the mountain. It was relatively safer there. As long as they didn't initiate a conversation with strangers, there wouldn't be any problems. Han Xiaopa's expression changed slightly. He thought of something and said, Boss, that right Pan Gao. And don't worry. Lin Yi waved his hand. He didn't want Han Xiaopa and Yu Xiaoka to worry. Even if he told them the truth, they wouldn't be able to help much with their strength. So Lin Yi decided to take it on himself. To be honest, Lin Yi was not afraid of the enemies from the Hidden Yu family. Lin Yi was afraid of the Vice President of Heaven's stage. He was an expert at the peak of the early phase of the Heaven rank, and it seemed that he was slightly stronger than the average Heaven rank expert. Lin Yi wasn't sure if he could deal with him. After all, Lin Yi's current martial skills could be used for sneak attacks, but it was a head-on confrontation. Lin Yi did not have any advantage. All right, we'll be leaving first. Han Xiaopa nodded. Be careful. Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi worriedly and suddenly leaned forward bravely, kissing Lin Yi's lips. Lin Yi was startled. Yu Xiaoka's sudden action made his heart skip a beat. Although both of them were masked, there was no skin contact. However, Lin Yi had never experienced his heart beating like an electric current before. At this moment, Lin Yi realized that Xiaoka had occupied a large place in his heart without him realizing it. I'll wait for you. Xiaoka was brave, but she couldn't let go in front of Han Xiaopa. It was already amazing that she could do this, and it showed how much she liked the male thief. She quickly separated after kissing Lin Yi. Her eyes were filled with shyness as she said to Lin Yi, Okay, I will. Lin Yi said solemnly. Not far away, Yang Qiqi was still paying attention to Lin Yi's movements. She didn't know why, but for some reason she felt a wave of discomfort when she saw Xiaoka taking the initiative to kiss her. How shameless, taking the initiative to kiss a man. It was too embarrassing. Yang Qiqi only cared about cursing Xiaoka. She didn't notice the road under her feet and stepped on a stone. She staggered and almost fell to the ground. Seeing that everyone was looking at her strangely, Yang Qiqi snorted and left quickly. Practitioners could stagger when they fell. How stupid would a cultivator be? Lin Yi watched as Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka left the market and went to the parking lot not far away. A cold smile appeared on his face as he turned and walked in another direction. This direction wasn't the market, and it wasn't the way to leave either. It was another path up the mountain. This road was obviously not a regular road, but a rugged natural path that was very difficult to walk. It was in the opposite direction of the cultivator's market. In the cultivator's market, the Vice President of Heaven rank was sitting in a courtyard, and the other person was his disappointing disciple, Skinny Stick. Master, are we just going to let that kid leave like this? He doesn't just have blue crystals, he also has yellow jade. Skinny said anxiously. Don't worry. The Vice President smiled faintly and waved his hand at the skinny man. It's impossible for him to leave. Where can he go? Don't worry, my eyes have been watching him. Not only did he not leave, but he went to another mountain path. I don't know if he knows something or is doing it on purpose. Mountain path? Isn't that the herb plantation of our cultivator trade association? He went up. Skinny's face changed. So I don't know what he's doing up there. The vice chairman said, but don't worry, if we don't do it, someone will do it for us. Master, you mean? Skinny asked carefully. Can he go back safely after offending the hidden house Yuyu? You don't have to think about the yellow jade, the hidden house Yuyu is determined to get it. There's no point in us snatching it back. Although it was auctioned for more than 200 million this time, it might not be the same price the next time. Tens of millions at most. We don't need to offend the hidden house Yuyu for such a thing. The vice chairman said, our goal this time is the blue crystal. Oh, master, you mean to let the hidden house Yuyu make the first move? The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. We'll wait until they're almost done before we make our move? Skinny understood what his master meant. Yes, that's it. The vice chairman nodded. But that kid is just a peak Earth class mid-stage master. Is there a need to do this? If we work together with the hidden house Yuyu, maybe we can get more benefits? Skinny asked in confusion. Just peak Earth class mid-stage? If it's just that, how did he cripple your brothers and almost kill them? The vice chairman sneered and said, don't you need to use your brain to think about it? This? Skinny finally remembered why they were looking for Linny. He immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Yes, how could a peak Earth class mid-stage master so easily kill a peak Earth class late-stage master? Either Linny was able to fight someone stronger than him, or he was hiding his true strength. One had to know that even a Sky class early phase couldn't kill an Earth class late phase peak with just one move. It was simply unbelievable. Chapter 2504. As a bodyguard. Let's go, it's about time. The hidden house of you should be on the move, we should get ready to go. The vice leader stood up. The vice leader was right. When Yu Pangao returned to the hotel room and told the short man everything that had happened, the short man was furious. The pure topaz was something that old man Yu had personally ordered him to get. Now that it was stolen, he wouldn't let it go. Especially when Yu Pangao exaggerated about how arrogant Linny was, and how he didn't care about the hidden house of Yu. This made the short man even angrier, and he brought Yu Pangao out. Kid, you're quite good at choosing your route. Yu Pangao caught up to Lin Yi and looked at Lin Yi's back from afar. He laughed coldly. Don't think that we won't be able to find you just because you went up the mountain. I've said it before, let's see how long you can keep the pure topaz in your hands. Lin Yi's path was indeed out of Yu Pangao's and the short man's expectations, but with the help of some people in the Cultivator Trade Association, they were able to find him without a hitch. In fact, the vice leader was using them as pawns to test the waters. Lin Yi could easily kill an Earth-class late-phase peak master, so his true strength was at least at the early phase of Sky-class. If that was the case, then they would let an early-phase Sky-class master test it out, and see how deep Lin Yi's strength was. Lin Yi laughed coldly and turned his head. He looked at Yu Pangao and the short man with a mocking smile and said calmly, "Do you know why I chose this path? Isn't it simple? Because you were afraid that we would come to steal the pure topaz, and wanted to escape, so you purposely chose this remote place. But you won't be able to hide." Yu Pangao said proudly. "Wrong." Lin Yi said calmly. "Wrong? Don't quibble, there's no one here. You don't need to keep your pitiful pride, your companion already ran for her life. Haha, stop pretending." Yu Pangao said mockingly. "I chose this place because there aren't many people here. It doesn't matter if my identity is exposed." Lin Yi waved his hand and said to Yu Pangao, "The hidden house of you is really an idiot. You're the same. Yu Pangao is the same. You have a sharp tongue and you're still so stubborn even at death." Pangao snorted. "Exposed? What identity do you have to be exposed? I say, short robber, your injuries healed quite quickly, didn't they? Looks like I didn't put too much force into that slap back then. You're still alive and kicking, looking for trouble." Lin Yi ignored Pangao. Instead, he looked at the short expert not far away and said coldly. The short expert was taken aback, and a look of horror flashed in his eyes. You are... So, the people from the Hidden Right family are all idiots. You brought your grandson to chase after me to your death? Lin Yi said as he looked at the short expert playfully. "Brat, who are you calling courting death?" Right, Pangao didn't recognize Lin Yi, so he didn't understand the situation. When he heard Lin Yi say that he was courting death, he instantly exploded. "Pah." However, Yu Pangao had not finished speaking. The short expert ruthlessly slapped him across the face. "Little bastard, shut up." "Grandfather." Right, Pangao didn't know what was going on. He didn't know why his grandfather suddenly gave him a slap. Feeling wronged, he asked, "What's wrong with me?" Hee Mr. Lin, I was just joking. The short expert was sweating profusely. He was a heaven rank expert, so he was very domineering. However, he could also distinguish between the strong and the weak. The combination of him and Right Pan Gao was far worse than the combination of him and the tall robber. Lin Yi could easily kill the previous combination. Wouldn't it be as easy as flipping his hand to kill him and his grandson? So, after understanding the situation, the short expert decisively gave in. Joke? You brought your grandson all the way here just to joke? Lin Yi stared at the short expert angrily. Are you crazy? I'm not crazy. Actually, my real purpose was to prevent Mr. Lin from carrying such a precious thing like the pure topaz. What if you meet a robber on the way? So, my grandson and I volunteered to be his bodyguards. The short expert said, That's right. The short expert said, Oh, that's it. Oh, you came to be a bodyguard. Alright, you guys hide first. Someone's coming. Lin Yi waved his hand. Someone's coming? Then we'll leave first. The short expert hurriedly said, Aren't you guys going to be my bodyguards? Why are you leaving? Could it be that you're not here to be bodyguards? Lin Yi looked at the short expert and said coldly, Of course we're here to be bodyguards. The short expert was shocked and quickly said. He was afraid that Lin Yi would kill him. He quickly bid on the point of being a bodyguard. Since you're here to be bodyguards, then that's good. You guys hide first. Wait for my summons to protect me. Lin Yi instructed them. Yes. The short expert nodded helplessly. He pulled Right Pan Gao and hid behind a huge rock not far away. However, he didn't dare to run away. He was afraid that this was a trap set by Lin Yi. If they ran away, Lin Yi would quickly kill them. Grandfather, why did you call him Mr. Lin? Who is he? After hiding behind the huge rock, Right Pan Gao asked suspiciously. Who is he? How did your grandfather get injured? How did your grandfather Gao die? That's who he is. The short expert glared at his grandson and said fiercely, Today I almost died because of you. This brat is very cruel and ruthless. He's simply a violent maniac. Last time when your grandfather Gao and I were robbers, he didn't say a word and injured us. Today he might have been in a good mood after taking a picture of pure topaz. That's why he let us go. What? It's him? Right Pan Gao's face turned ashen. He broke out in a cold sweat. So it was this evil star. He was fearlessly acting tough in front of him and courting death. His life was really hanging by a thread. Alright, don't talk anymore. It seems like someone is really coming. The short expert was slightly surprised. He was a heaven stage expert, but Lin Yi was one step ahead of him. What kind of expert was Lin Yi? In fact, he was thinking too much. Previously, he was frightened by Lin Yi and didn't carefully investigate the surrounding situation. Lin Yi had already expected that other than the hidden Yu family members, the Heaven Stage Vice President would also come. Naturally, he was more careful than the short expert. The Heaven Stage Vice President brought the skinny stick to Lin Yi's side. Only then did he realize that Lin Yi was just standing there, calm and unruffled in the midst of the chaos. Chapter 2511. The School Bell's Bodyguard Free Reading Chapter 2511. Come and be a bodyguard update complete. Chapter 2505. This situation made him slightly startled. What was Lin Yi doing? Why didn't the hidden house of Yu come looking for him? That's not right. I specifically ordered the disciples of the law enforcement hall to inadvertently give them a hint when they were looking for Lin Yi. That way they would be able to find Lin Yi smoothly. But where was this person? Hello, Vice President. Is this skinny man your subordinate? Lin Yi was a little surprised after seeing the skinny man. He did expect the Vice President to come back to avenge the two gatekeepers, but he didn't expect it to be because of this skinny man. No wonder. Lin Yi finally understood after seeing the skinny man. So the two gatekeepers were actually standing up for this skinny man. It was just that they weren't strong enough. Lin Yi found it strange at first. The two gatekeepers must have taken the wrong medicine. He was an Earth-class peak mid-stage master. Of all people, the gatekeepers could have looked for trouble, but they just had to look for him. They must have eaten their fill. Since you've seen me here, there's no need for me to hide anymore. That's right, he's my disciple. You stole his blue crystal and crippled two of my disciples. How are you going to settle this debt? The vice leader looked at Lin Yi coldly as if he was looking at a dead man. How? Do I still need to settle this? Lin Yi smiled faintly. You, scrawny disciple, bullied people first and I was just helping them out. The two disciples after you, on the other hand, were crippled because they weren't strong enough. Who can you blame? Oh, what you said is correct. Then can I interpret it as saying that if I kill you now, who can you blame for your lack of strength? The vice leader was clearly twisting words and forcing logic, but his words sounded extremely natural. Of course, you can understand it that way, Linny said lightly, but do you think I'm waiting here to die? Then you. The vice president was slightly shocked. To be honest, he was also quite surprised. Linny was inexplicably standing here without hiding. What was the reason? Moreover, where were the people of the hidden right family? Bodyguards, come out and work. Someone's bullying the person you're protecting. Linny turned his head to look at the short expert and the boulder to his right. Cough cough. The short expert had no choice but to bring his right arm out. His expression was extremely ugly, but there was nothing he could do. He was in a dilemma. He had no choice but to come out, but he didn't want to face the vice leader of the heaven rank after coming out. Third brother of the right, why are you here? The vice president of Heaven's stage looked at the two hidden U family members who came out from behind the boulder in shock. He was very surprised. How did these two people become Lin Yi's bodyguards? That's right, we're this gentleman's bodyguards. The short expert said helplessly, we're here to protect this gentleman's safety, Mr. Vice President. What can I do for you? The short expert's words were very clear. He was currently being forced into a corner. If the short expert wanted to cause trouble for Lin Yi, then he would have no choice. I'm also in a difficult position here. The vice president of Heaven's stage frowned. He really couldn't figure out the truth of the matter. He could only say, third brother of the right, what do you mean? Did you get your pure topaz? Pure topaz? We don't want it. We're here to protect this gentleman's pure topaz from being stolen by others. The short expert said. You. The vice president of Heaven's stage found that things seemed to be wrong. Although he was an expert at the peak of the early stage of Heaven's stage, and third brother of the right was an expert at the early stage of Heaven's stage, there was only a slight difference in strength between the two. It was unrealistic to say that the vice president of Heaven's stage could completely suppress third brother of the right. He didn't have that ability, let alone easily kill him. If the two really fought, it would be easy to judge who would win and who would lose. The final winner would definitely be the vice president of Heaven's stage, but he would also have to put in a lot of effort. He might even get injured, which was not what he wanted to see. I'm sorry. The short expert said helplessly. Grandpa, why don't we join forces with the vice president? Can't we beat that kid? Third brother of the right was somewhat unwilling. He suddenly said. First, he wanted to remind his grandpa that there were two Heaven stage experts here, so there was no need to be afraid of Lin Yi. Second, he wanted to remind the vice president of Heaven stage that he was forced to do this. He also wanted the vice president of Heaven stage to persuade his grandpa. Sure enough, the vice guild master's eyes lit up. He finally understood why House Yu changed sides at the last minute. It turned out that they couldn't beat Lin Yi. But a Sky-class early-stage master couldn't even be a match for an Earth-class mid-stage peak master? Was this for real? Wasn't this world too crazy? The short expert's expression was slightly sluggish. It wasn't that he didn't think of joining forces with the vice president of Heaven's stage, but the risk was too big. What if they still couldn't beat Lin Yi? He wasn't High Tripod Right. No matter what, High Tripod Right had never experienced the events of that day. However, the short expert had truly suffered a palm strike, and he knew very well how powerful that palm strike was. Not to mention much, just 2 strikes from it would have killed him without a doubt. Therefore, if Lin Yi used the same trick again and slapped him and the vice president of Heaven's stage, then he and the vice president of Heaven's stage would both be crippled. He didn't think that the vice president of Heaven's stage, who was just a bit stronger than him, would be able to survive. That wasn't realistic. Even if the vice president of Heaven's stage wasn't injured as badly as he was, he definitely wouldn't be able to fight. At that time, wouldn't it be as easy for Lin Yi to kill third brother of the right clan and Skinny Stick? After killing these two, he would give them another slap each and all 4 of them would die here. Thinking of this situation, the short expert couldn't help but feel his heart palpitate. He quickly dispelled this idea and suddenly turned around. He swung his arm and slapped third brother of the right clan's face again. You prodigal brat, what nonsense are you talking about? That hero is so powerful, how can we 2 mere Heaven stage experts work together to defeat him? What do you know, you little bastard? The last time I was with your grandpa Gao, he was an Earth-class late phase peak and I was an Earth-class early phase. He was killed in 1 slap and I was crippled. I had to eat so many pills to recover. Have you forgotten? The short expert's words were actually meant for the vice president of Heaven stage to hear. That is, I was crippled by Lin Yi in 1 slap and he only needed 1 slap to kill you. Although I know that I was pushed out by him to start a feud with you, I had no choice but to bite the bullet. So don't blame me, this wasn't my intention. Chapter 2506. If Lin Yi wanted to kill you, he would have already done it himself. Why would he need me? I'm being used as a tool. When we become enemies, the Hidden Right family and the Cultivator Trading Association will become enemies. You will be happy. But the shorty was thinking too much. Lin Yi didn't think that way at all. It was true that Lin Yi could cripple him with one palm, but that was under the condition of a surprise attack. If the short master had chi protection, then he would not be able to kill him. Moreover, Lin Yi could only send out 2 palms before using up all his physical chi. It was impossible to continuously activate the 7th style of the Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm. Therefore, Lin Yi did not have the confidence to deal with the Vice President of Heaven Division. He could only deal with it and escape. It was just that Lin Yi did not want the Vice President of Heaven Division to know that he was afraid. After all, he could not hide forever. He had to intimidate the Vice President of Heaven Division and make him afraid. Lin Yi still had to participate in the market and trade fairs in the future. He could not afford to have too much hatred with the Cultivator Trading Association. If the Vice President of Heaven Division was afraid and let it go, that would be the best result. The words of the short master were like thunder in the ears of the Vice President of Heaven Division. It was so shocking that he could not believe it was true. Could it be that Lin Yi, a peak Earth class master, really had the ability to beat the third brother of the right in himself? However, the Vice President of Heaven Division knew that the third brother of the right would not lie. After all, the third brother of the right was a dignified Heaven Division master. How could he tell such a lie? That was a joke with his own reputation. A dignified Heaven Division master was afraid of a peak Earth class master? If this was spread out, it would be a big joke. If it was not true and he was forced to do so, the third brother of the right would never say it. With that in mind, the Vice President couldn't help but re-evaluate Lin Yi. Thinking back to how easily Lin Yi had crippled 2 of his disciples, and how he was able to fight someone of a higher level than him, the Vice President finally realized that his thinking was too simple. This Earth-class mid-phase peak in front of him was a different kind of Earth-class mid-phase peak. However, he still had some doubts in his heart. If Lin Yi was really so powerful, it would be better for him and third brother of the right to kill him directly. Why did he adopt this kind of tactic? Make the hidden Yu family his enemy? Since the whole story had already been revealed, how could they still be enemies? After taking a deep breath and doing his best to calm himself down, the vice leader raised his head and looked at Lin Yi. How should I address you? I have to admit that I've underestimated your strength. My surname is Ling, Lin Yi said lightly. Mr. Ling, do you really have the strength to annihilate us? The vice guild leader hesitated for a moment. He asked straightforwardly. Why don't I use you as an experiment? Stand here and let me hit you. You can personally experience it and see if I have the ability to destroy you fellows, Lin Yi said with a chuckle. Haha, Mr. Ling must be joking. How could the Vice President of Heaven rank agree to this suggestion? If he hadn't heard third brother of the right's words and if Lin Yi hadn't crippled 2 of his disciples before, he might have really agreed to this proposal. However, he didn't dare to try it now even if he was beaten to death. Even if he didn't believe it, third brother of the right was not a fool. Lin Yi didn't have that kind of strength. Could he surrender? Even when his grandson Yu Pangao proposed to join forces with him to deal with Lin Yi, he was flatly rejected by third brother of the right. He even slapped third brother of the right's grandson. This seemed unbelievable, but after thinking about it carefully, there was a truth in it. Lin Yi was really not simple. I'm not joking, Lin Yi said lightly. Well, Mr. Ling, since we've already made the grievances between us clear, then I'll be straightforward with you. I want to ask you, why don't you do it yourself but let third brother of the right do it? Do you really want the hidden right family to become enemies with us? The Vice President of Heaven rank asked the doubt in his heart. He always felt that something was wrong. Of course not. Lin Yi shook his head. I don't want to do it myself because I can't control my strength well. Once I make a move, you'll be crippled even if you don't die. I let third brother of the right do it because I want to resolve the conflict between us smoothly. Resolve it smoothly? Don't you want to do it? The Vice President of Heaven rank was stunned and asked. You're the Vice President of the Cultivator Trading Association. You're different from the 2 small characters who guarded the door before. If I kill you, regardless of whether I have a reason or not, the Cultivator Trading Association will be slapped in the face. Won't your president avenge you? Lin Yi asked in reply. Although I'm powerful and can fight enemies of a higher level, if the Cultivator Trading Association gets a few higher-level heaven rank masters, then I'm definitely no match for them. That's true. The Vice President of Heaven rank nodded and agreed with Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi was right. He was the Vice President. His identity and status were completely different from the previous two gatekeeping disciples. If the gatekeeping disciples died, then so be it. Other than him, the master, no one would avenge them. However, if he, the vice president, died, then it would be unusual. Even the other vice president who had conflicts with him in the past would come forward to avenge him. In the past, those were just personal grievances. Now, they had to work together to protect the reputation of the Cultivator Trading Association. Moreover, the most important thing is that I still have to deal with you in the future. If there's a feud, it won't be good for me, said Lin Yi. When the vice president of Heaven Rank thought of Lin Yi's auction of the elixir, his heart moved slightly. He believed Lin Yi's words. However, after all, he did not personally experience Lin Yi's power like third brother of the right. So he still asked, how can you prove that you have the ability to kill us? As long as you have the ability to prove that your strength is equivalent to mine, I won't pursue the previous matter. I will resolve the grievances with you and become friends. You should understand that in the world of cultivators, the strong are respected. If you have the strength, then I will talk to you as an equal. Then how do you want me to prove it? Lin Yi kicked the question back to the vice president of Heaven Rank. The vice president of Heaven Rank frowned. He was also thinking about how Lin Yi would prove this point. Fighting against an enemy of a higher level was not something that could be seen just by using the mantra. No matter how Lin Yi displayed his strength, he would still be at the peak of mid-earth class. While the vice president of Heaven Rank was thinking, the skinny man beside him was anxious. From what his master said, it seemed like he wanted to take the initiative to ask for peace. That wouldn't do. Wouldn't his brothers have died in vain? Chapter 2507. Thus, the skinny man hurriedly shouted, Master, don't listen to this brat's bullshit. No matter how powerful he is, he can't beat a Heaven Stage Master. How could there be a precedent of an Earth Stage Master beating a Heaven Stage Master? It's unheard of. I think he must have promised the Hidden Yu family some benefits so that the Hidden Yu family would help him lie. These words made the vice president of Heaven Stage even more suspicious. However, before he could speak, the skinny man's words stopped abruptly and was replaced by a scream. Frenzy 8 trigrams palm 7th form. Lin Yi said to Lin Yi as he struck the skinny man with his palm. This person would always be a scourge if he didn't get rid of him. Even if the vice president of Heaven Stage resolved today's matter, this guy would still bewitch the vice president of Heaven Stage or other people to deal with Lin Yi in the future. Therefore, this person must not be left alive. Boom! A large hole appeared in the skinny man's chest. Lin Yi's palm had pierced through his chest. His body fell heavily on the ground and died instantly. The vice president of Heaven Stage was shocked. He didn't expect Lin Yi to suddenly attack. However, just as he said the word you, he was shocked by the aura of Lin Yi's palm. His eyes widened and he couldn't speak. Didn't you want me to prove it? I've already proven it. Lin Yi said lightly as if killing the skinny man was just to prove his strength. The 13th style of the Heaven Rank Martial Technique. The vice president of the Heaven Rank Martial Technique sucked in a breath of cold air after a long while. He exclaimed, Not bad, you do have the strength to fight with me. Furthermore, if this palm hit me, I'm afraid that I would suffer quite a bit of injury. I believe that you are indeed qualified to speak with me on equal terms. Pan Gao was also dumbfounded. He also felt the power of Lin Yi's martial technique. He was so scared that his face turned ashen. He had tried to sow discord just now, but now he was regretting it. If he knew that Lin Yi was so powerful, why was he so talkative? But Lin Yi wasn't angry at him. On the contrary, he felt that this guy's big mouth had its benefits. If it weren't for him, things wouldn't have ended so easily. Lin Yi also wanted to reveal what he had said to the vice leader of the Heaven Rank, but there was no need for Lin Yi to waste his breath. On the other hand, the short expert, third brother of the right, was smiling bitterly as he looked at the vice president of Heaven Rank. He spread his hands and said, Vice President, now you know my difficulties, right? He can indeed easily cripple me. The power of that palm is equivalent to a peak early-stage Heaven Rank powerhouse. I have no choice but to do this. I understand. The vice president of Heaven Rank nodded and said, Mr. Ling, I apologize for offending you in the past. It's my fault for not disciplining him properly, but I will stand up for him. Don't take it to heart. After all, the cultivation world is cruel. I understand. If I didn't have the strength, I wouldn't have been able to do so. I'm afraid I'm a corpse now. I won't allow third old you to compromise here. Lin Yi smiled and said faintly. It's good that you understand. The vice president also smiled. It's easy to talk to smart people. I recognize you as a customer. This is my contact information. If there's anything in the future you can contact me directly. As he said that, the vice president took out a business card made of pure gold. He threw it at Lin Yi. This kind of business card could not be owned by people of the same level of strength. The vice president giving it to Lin Yi was also an acknowledgement of Lin Yi. Of course, this action of throwing the business card was also a test and punishment for Lin Yi. The vice president used all his strength. Even if a heaven-rank powerhouse took his business card head-on, it would be impossible for him to escape unscathed. It was inevitable that his hand would be injured. He would not be able to move for at least a month. He wanted to see if Lin Yi could take it head-on. If Lin Yi did not dare to take it head-on, it meant that Lin Yi's strength was still not enough. Even if he did not make trouble at the moment, he would value Lin Yi a little less. If Lin Yi took it head-on, he would naturally resolve today's grudge. However, Lin Yi's hand would definitely be crippled for a month. It could be considered a punishment for Lin Yi, who asked him to kill his 3 disciples. Lin Yi reached out and took the business card thrown by the vice president of heaven rank. However, the strength of the business card hit Lin Yi's palm, breaking all the bones in Lin Yi's palm and damaging his tendons to a certain extent. Lin Yi had long expected this situation, but in order not to let the vice president of heaven rank see him clearly, he still chose to take it head-on instead of dodging. However, the vice president of heaven rank was wrong about Lin Yi. After Lin Yi caught the business card, he quickly circulated the second level of the art of dragon mastery to quickly heal himself. Although the injury on his palm was serious, the area was very small. Compared to the injury Lin Yi suffered in the fight, it was insignificant. Therefore, Lin Yi's palm quickly recovered to its original state. Lin Yi raised his hand and played with the business card in his hand. His palm and fingers were extremely flexible, showing no signs of injury at all. Oh, this business card is very valuable. It is made of pure gold. It seems that the vice president is really giving me face. I will definitely keep this business card well. Lin Yi smiled and stuffed the business card into his pocket. As for his hand, it seemed that he was trying to adjust the position of the business card in his pocket. This situation made the vice president of heaven rank dumbfounded. He was fine. Lin Yi's hand was not injured at all? How was this possible? Even a peak early heaven class expert with the same strength as him couldn't protect their body with chi, right? Even if a peak early heaven class expert used chi to protect their body, they would more or less be affected. Even if the bones in the palm weren't completely broken, they would still be injured and unable to move freely, right? But Lin Yi seemed to be completely fine. Mr. Ling is indeed not an ordinary peak mid-earth class expert. The vice president of heaven rank sighed and said, I wonder which sect Mr. Ling is from? The strength of your sect's practitioners can't be measured by ordinary levels. Although Mr. Ling is currently peak mid-earth class, in reality, whether it is the power of your martial arts or the defensive ability of your chi protection, they all exceed the strength of a peak early heaven class expert. This humble one admires you greatly. The vice president of heaven rank asked himself that even his defensive ability was not as strong as Lin Yi's, and Lin Yi's martial arts power was stronger than his. Therefore, he directly addressed himself as this humble one, and put Lin Yi in the position of a senior. Although Lin Yi's level was low, his strength was there. He didn't think that there was anything wrong with this. Yes, Senior Ling's strength is quite amazing. The third elder of the right also echoed. Although he didn't know why Lin Yi chose the Ling surname, he wouldn't expose him like a fool at this time. He didn't want to die yet. Chapter 2508. Since everything is clear and the grievances are resolved, I will leave. Senior Ling, take care. The vice president of Heaven Division confirmed that Lin Yi was more powerful than him, so his tone became respectful. It couldn't be helped. The cultivation world was a very realistic place. Okay, vice president, take care. I won't send you off. Lin Yi nodded. See you. The vice president of Heaven Division picked up the skinny body and left quickly. He disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. Lin Yi also turned his head and looked at Third Elder of the Right and Pangao of the Right. Will you two continue to be my bodyguards? Asked Lin Yi. This Senior Lin has divine protection. Naturally, you don't need small characters like us to protect you. Third Elder of the Right said awkwardly. He had changed the way he addressed Lin Yi from Mr. Lin to Senior Lin. Especially after seeing the power of Lin Yi's vital energy protection, he knew that he couldn't do anything to Lin Yi. Oh, what are you holding in your hand? Lin Yi pointed to the big suitcase in Pangao's hand and asked. This is money. It's the money from selling the elixir at the auction. Third Elder of the Right didn't dare to hide and told the truth. Oh, since you two don't protect me, shouldn't you compensate me for my loss? Give me the money. Although it's not much, I'm too lazy to beat you up. said Lin Yi. This is to be handed over to the hidden Yu family. Third elder of the right said with a bitter face. If I give it to you, it'll be hard to explain when I go back. Oh, then you don't have to hand over the pure topaz to the Yu family? If I take away the pure topaz, how are you going to explain when you go back? Asked Lin Yi. I said that Senior Lin took it away. We can't do anything, said third elder of the right. That's it. Just say that I took the money away, said Lin Yi. Ah, is that so? The third elder of the right was stunned. However, he thought that it was a good reason. Since the pure topaz had been taken away, the money from selling the elixirs would not be a problem. What? Can't I? Lin Yi looked at the third right coldly. Yes, of course. You Pan Gao, give all the money to Senior Lin. The third elder of the right was shocked. He quickly agreed. All right. Yu Pan Gao did not dare to disobey the third brother of the right. He carefully handed the box to Lin Yi and said in a trembling voice, Senior Lin, please accept it. Oh, okay, then you can go. Lin Yi took the suitcase and waved his hand impatiently. All right, then we'll be leaving first. Senior Lin, take care. The third elder of the right breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had escaped a disaster. He hurriedly pulled Yu Pan Gao's hand and ran down the mountain. Lin Yi looked at the back of the third elder of the right as he left. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. It would be a lie to say that Lin Yi was not nervous. Although Lin Yi had the ability to cripple the third elder of the right, it had to be based on the unexpected situation. The current situation was that Lin Yi could not completely succeed in a sneak attack. The third elder of the right was good, and the vice president of the heaven stage was on guard. If they really fought, Lin Yi would definitely be exposed. However, a few words and killing a skinny man had achieved a deterrent effect. The third elder of the right and the vice president of the heaven stage did not dare to act rashly. Instead, it allowed Lin Yi to easily resolve the crisis in front of him. After standing in place for a while, he did not hear any more movements. Lin Yi moved, but Lin Yi did not walk in the direction of the mountain. Instead, he continued to walk up the mountain. Lin Yi was going to make a detour before going down the mountain. It was to prevent anyone from waiting for him at the foot of the mountain. However, after walking for a while, Lin Yi was stunned by the scene in front of him. He saw that all kinds of rare herbs were planted all over the mountains and plains. Although it could not be said to be at the level of heaven and earth treasure, they were all good materials for alchemy. At least, the materials for refining a lot of second-grade elixir could be found here. This discovery surprised and delighted Lin Yi. If he brought some back for Han Jingjing to refine elixir, wouldn't it be a good solution to the problem of ingredients for alchemy? However, very quickly Lin Yi calmed down again. These herbs were good stuff. It was impossible for them to grow naturally on this mountain. Moreover, this was the place where the Cultivator Trading Association held the market. Then, the herbs that were planted on this mountain most likely belonged to the Cultivator Trading Association. Sure enough, Lin Yi did not stay here for more than a few minutes before two people ran towards him. They shouted as they ran, "Who are you?" Lin Yi took a look. It was actually two Earth-class late-stage peak cultivators. Moreover, the clothes they were wearing were exactly the same as the disciples of the Cultivator Trading Association's law enforcement hall. From this characteristic, it could confirm Lin Yi's previous guess. This was really the Cultivator Trading Association's territory. You guys are from the Cultivator Trading Association? To confirm his guess, Lin Yi still asked. That's right, but don't try to get close to us. This is the Cultivator Trading Association's restricted area. Only the vice chairman and elders of the association can enter. One of the disciples looked at Lin Yi cautiously. Who are you? Trespassing is a crime punishable by death. If you don't explain yourself, we can only bring you down the mountain to see the vice chairman. I'm good friends with your vice chairman. Lin Yi smiled. As for trespassing, it's not really trespassing. I can only say that it was a mistake. Mistake? This place is so remote and the road is hard to walk. It's a completely different direction from the market. Who are you trying to fool by saying that? The disciple clearly did not believe him. As for knowing the vice chairman? We've heard that a lot. You don't believe me? I still have his business card. Lin Yi did not want to clash with these two disciples. After all, the two guards were deliberately making things difficult for him, and these two were just abiding by their duties. Lin Yi himself had entered their herb garden by mistake. Business card? The disciple saw Lin Yi's hand reach into his pocket, but did not stop him. They were Earth-class late-phase peak, so naturally they were not afraid of Lin Yi taking out a weapon. If Lin Yi was stronger than them, then he could kill them without a weapon. If he was weaker, then weapons would be useless. Lin Yi took out the name card made of pure gold and showed it in front of the two disciples of the law enforcement hall. It really is the vice chairman's business card, and it's a top-grade pure gold business card. These two law enforcement hall disciples were obviously knowledgeable people. They also knew that if it wasn't an important guest, the vice president wouldn't give out this kind of business card. Generally, it was good enough to give out a platinum-plated business card. Most of them were ordinary steel business cards. Chapter 2509. Happy cooperation. Wait a minute, I'll contact the vice president. Another law enforcement hall disciple said as he took out the walkie-talkie and pressed a few numbers on it. When it was connected, he said, "Hello, Vice President. I'm Lang Jinxiang, the team leader of the law enforcement hall in the herb garden. Here is a guest who accidentally trespassed. He has your gold business card in his hand. Do you want to let him go or escort him to your place?" What? Gold business card? The vice president's heart suddenly tightened after hearing this. He immediately thought of Lin Yi on the mountain and quickly said, Don't annoy him. Let him go on his own. Remember, you must be respectful." "Yes." The team leader of the law enforcement hall quickly responded. "Give me the walkie-talkie. I want to talk to the vice president," Lin Yi suddenly said to the team leader. "This." The team leader hesitated for a moment. "Give it to him," the vice president ordered directly. "Okay." The team leader quickly gave the walkie-talkie to Lin Yi. "Mr. Ling, is that you? How did you break into our herb garden?" The vice president's tone was very good, without the slightest hint of blame. "But you also know that those two disciples were just following orders. Don't lower yourself to their level. Our herb garden is indeed a restricted area." "Oh, I know. Vice President, you don't have to be nervous. I'm not a person who kills people casually," Lin Yi said with a wry smile. Lin Yi's words made the two disciples of the law enforcement hall jump in fright. No way. The vice president actually spoke to Lin Yi in such a respectful tone? Moreover, it seemed that Mr. Ling might kill them? Thinking of this, the two law enforcement hall disciples suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. "Haha, I'm just saying. Why, Mr. Ling, what's the matter?" the vice president asked. "Vice President, may I ask if the herbs planted on the mountain are for sale?" Lin Yi asked. "Oh, of course these herbs are for sale. However, they weren't sold through our market's channels. Instead, they were sold through a higher-level trade fair." The vice president of Heaven Stage said, "Why, Mr. Ling is interested." "Oh, that's right, Mr. Ling provided some pills before." "That's right. I was wondering if I could buy some materials?" Lin Yi asked. "This is not within my jurisdiction. I am only responsible for the safety of the herb garden. As for the sale of the medicine, the other vice president is in charge of it." The vice president of Heaven Stage said, "Well, Mr. Ling, I'll help you ask. Call me in about a month and I'll give you the news. Anyway, it will take some time for this batch of medicinal materials to mature, so there's no hurry for the time being." "All right. Thank you very much." Lin Yi said, "I can guarantee that the pills I refine will be given priority to the vice president's market square." That's naturally the best." The vice president of Heaven Stage said with a smile, "Then I wish us a happy cooperation." In fact, he helped Lin Yi because Lin Yi could provide pills to the cultivator market. One had to know that pills were one of the biggest sources of profit for the cultivator market. The profits from the invitation were directly collected by the Cultivator Trading Association and were not considered as the performance of the vice president of Heaven Stage. The profits earned from the auction were the performance of the vice president of Heaven Stage. That was why he was willing to lower his status and be on good terms with Lin Yi. Otherwise, just because Lin Yi was stronger than him didn't mean that he would be so friendly. For a long time, the pills in the cultivator market were provided by the Hidden Yu family, but the Heaven Stage cultivator was not satisfied with this because the Hidden Yu family's quantity was too little. There were only about 20 to 30 pills each time. Most of them were common pills like Small Huan Pill, Meridian Unblocking Pill, Qi Replenishing Pill, Foundation Establishment Pill, Body Tempering Pill and so on. There were very few pills for cultivation like the Small Qi Gathering Pill. Lin Yi provided 5 small Qi Gathering Pills at once, which surprised the vice president of Heaven Stage. "Happy cooperation. I hope the vice president of Heaven Stage can help," Lin Yi said quickly. "Oh, I will try my best to facilitate it." The vice president of Heaven Stage nodded and said, "However, you have to give me a guarantee first." "You have to give me a guarantee first? Every 3 years, can you provide me with the same amount of elixirs as this time?" "Every 3 years?" Lin Yi was slightly stunned. "Yes, the Hidden Yu family will provide this amount of pills every 3 years, said the vice president of Heaven's Stage. Lin Yi was stunned. It turned out that the Hidden Yu family's pills weren't very productive. They only had this amount every 3 years. But with Lin Yi and Han Jingjing, as long as they had the materials, they could basically refine these pills in a few days. Of course, Lin Yi definitely couldn't say these words. If he said it, he would be a monster. It might be a disaster by then. The practitioner's market, it's only held once every 3 years? Lin Yi asked, confused. Of course not. When I said every 3 years, I meant second-grade elixir pills. But first-grade elixir pills, under normal circumstances, the Hidden Yu family will provide sufficient supply, so I don't recommend Mr. Ling to do business in this area anymore because the market is basically saturated. The vice president of Heaven's Stage said truthfully, although you sold all the spirit-gathering pills in your hands this time, it was also because the spirit-gathering pills are more popular for cultivation pills. As for the other first-grade pills, they are not so popular and have high profits. So that's how it is. Lin Yi nodded. In fact, he didn't even think about letting Han Jingjing refine first-grade pills. Anyway, it would take a lot of effort. Of course, refining second-grade pills was more promising and valuable. I can guarantee it. Okay, since Mr. Ling's words are a guarantee, then I will do my best. The vice president of Heaven's Stage agreed readily. Okay, I will go down the mountain first. I will leave everything here to the vice president. After Lin Yi finished speaking, he returned the walkie-talkie to the team leader of the law enforcement hall. The team leader of the law enforcement hall took the walkie-talkie with a shocked expression and said, "Senior Ling, please take care." Lin Yi nodded and walked down the mountain with a big suitcase. This time, the cultivator market could be said to have a fruitful harvest. Lin Yi got a lot of things he needed, and he also found a supply of materials for alchemy. This time it was really not a wasted trip. After going down the mountain, Lin Yi didn't meet anyone along the way. The people of the Hidden Yu family had probably left long ago. Lin Yi also reached an agreement with the vice president of Heaven's Stage. As long as the vice president of Heaven's Stage was not stupid, the relationship between the two would deepen as the cooperation deepened. It was impossible for them to become enemies again, unless the vice president of Heaven's Stage couldn't live with money and his own performance. Chapter 2516 School Bells Bodyguard Free Reading Chapter 2516 Happy Cooperation Completed. Chapter 2510. Let's meet again. There were quite a lot of people in the parking lot at the foot of the mountain. After participating in the auction, the cultivators didn't leave immediately but left one after another. Some returned to their rooms to pack up their things, and some continued to set up their stalls until the market was completely closed tonight. Han Xiaopa and Yu Xiaoko were overjoyed when they saw Lin Yi coming over with a big suitcase. It seemed that Lin Yi was fine. Previously, they saw third brother of the right bringing Yu Panggao down the mountain in a hurry, but Lin Yi didn't go down the mountain. They were very nervous. They were afraid that something would happen to Lin Yi. After all, nothing happened to the Hidden Yu family, and they left in a hurry, but Lin Yi didn't go down the mountain. They couldn't help but think in a bad direction. However, even though they thought about it, they didn't dare to go up the mountain. What if Lin Yi's opponent wasn't the Hidden Yu family, but the vice president of Heaven's Stage from the previous auction? If they went up the mountain to find Lin Yi, wouldn't it be equivalent to causing trouble for Lin Yi? Therefore, the only thing they could do was to wait, and they finally waited for Lin Yi. Boss. Han Xiaopa opened the car door and waved at Lin Yi in surprise. Xiaopa, are you anxious? Lin Yi smiled. I'm fine. It's just that we saw the Hidden Yu family coming down the mountain. Boss didn't come down, so we were a little worried. Han Xiaopa said truthfully, did you meet the vice president of Heaven's Stage again? You guessed right. Lin Yi nodded. I did meet the vice president. The two people from the Yu family were just a piece of cake. They didn't dare to make a move. Not only did they not make a move, but they also gave me a suitcase of money. Ah. Han Xiaopa's eyes widened. He pointed at the suitcase in Lin Yi's hand in disbelief. This is money. The Hidden Yu family gave it to you? Yes, they did give it to me, said Lin Yi. Alright, the boss is awesome. What about the vice president? Are you alright? Han Xiaopa had seen many of Lin Yi's amazing deeds, so his heart could still take it. That vice president is not bad. He gave me a pure gold name card. Tell me if we can continue working together in the future. As Lin Yi spoke, he took out a pure gold business card. Han Xiaopa coughed twice. He looked at the business card in Lin Yi's hand and exclaimed, even my grandfather doesn't have this kind of business card. He only has a platinum-plated business card. Boss actually has a gold-plated business card. Looks like I was worried for nothing. There was no need to worry. Although Lin Yi said it casually, no one knew how dangerous it was at that time. If it weren't for Lin Yi's smart move to push the third elder of the right out, things would not have gone so smoothly. However, there was no need to tell Han Xiaopa about this. After all, intelligence was not strength. Telling Han Xiaopa would only make him worry. Then boss, I won't bother you anymore. I'll get in the car first. Han Xiaopa saw Yu Xiaoka standing at the side and looking at Lin Yi with a silly smile. He shook his head and quickly turned around to get in the car. From Han Xiaopa's point of view, Lin Yi's luck with women was too good. Wherever he went, beauties would come to him. However, Han Xiaopa was not envious. With his status, it was natural to choose 1 in a million to find a girlfriend. However, with his current status, he could not be as casual as Lin Yi. His marriage would probably be arranged by his family. When the time came, he would definitely marry a girl from Lin Yi's family or sect. Xiaoka, this is for you. Lin Yi handed the box in his hand to Lin Yi. Thank you. Yu Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi affectionately. It was easy to meet, but it was hard to part. Yu Xiaoka did not expect to meet Lin Yi in the market. However, since they met, it was inevitable that she would feel empty and sad when they parted. How did you get here? Lin Yi asked. Xiao Ken and the driver from the orphanage drove me here. Yu Xiaoka pointed at a van not far away. It seemed to be the grocery van from the orphanage. Then let's part here, Lin Yi said. Then, will we have the chance to meet again in the future? Yu Xiaoka actually knew. The two of them were going to part here, but she was still a little reluctant. Haha, haven't you heard of this saying? If fate wills it, we will meet again. Originally, after we separated in the ancient tomb, after we parted in the ancient tomb, we should be far apart from each other, but we accidentally met many times. We will definitely meet again in the future. Lin Yi smiled. And then? Xiaoka nodded her head forcefully. She said that she wouldn't be able to see him again, but now she was looking forward to meeting him again. She hoped that she and the male thief were fated to meet again, and they would be able to see each other more often. Alright, go back. This money is enough for you for a while. We can slow down the expansion of the orphanage, Lin Yi said. Money? It's really not enough when it's time to use it. The orphanage is expanding, but there are a lot of hospitals all over the country that got the news. They're sending some abandoned babies with congenital diseases to my place. The cost of treating these abandoned babies is an astronomical figure. Yu Xiaoka sighed. I can't bear to reject these children, Lin Yi sighed softly. This situation was unavoidable. The bigger Yu Xiaoka's orphanage was, the more responsibility she had. She had to take in more abandoned babies, especially those with congenital diseases. Normal orphanages really couldn't afford the high cost of treating them. I'll think of a way for you. Lin Yi said to Yu Xiaoka, don't force yourself too much. Don't do dangerous things like this in the future. If you get caught stealing an invitation, how are you going to deal with it? Plus, even if you come here, you don't have much of a chance. These people are all masters. It's too hard to steal from them. Lin Yi could tell that the people who had the invitation were either from hidden houses or sects, or they were solo practitioners who had reached Earth class. Normal houses and solo practitioners didn't even know about the existence of this market. Yu Xiaoka stealing from them was like taking chestnuts from a fire. And I understand. Yu Xiaoka was happy that the man cared about her. Actually, it was a coincidence that she got the invitation. A practitioner accidentally left his coat on the seat when he was eating in a restaurant. She picked it up along the way so it wasn't too dangerous. But Lin Yi was right, Xiaoka only realized how vigilant the people here were after coming here. It was extremely difficult to steal something from here. Their money was all in suitcases, and even if Yu Xiaoka was a master thief, she wouldn't be able to steal the suitcases. That wouldn't be stealing, it would be robbery. Chapter 2517 School Bells Bodyguard Free Reading Chapter 2517 Fated to Meet Again has been updated. Chapter 2511. It looked like they got a lot of money this time, but in reality, it was all Lin Yi's doing. Xiaoka had nothing to do with it. Alright, I'm going now. You can go back too. Lin Yi patted Xiaoka's hair with a smile. And then? Xiaoka nodded dumbly, her eyes soft as water. She gathered her courage and kissed him on the cheek once more. Even with the mask on, she could feel the deep affection from that kiss. After kissing Lin Yi, Xiaoka turned around and ran to her car, waving at Lin Yi as she got in the car. What surprised Lin Yi was that she was from the Fian sect after all, dragging 2 suitcases behind her. She was still running as if she was flying. Xiaoka sis, male thief bro is here too. Ken looked at Lin Yi not far away with a smile. What does a kid know? Xiaoka glared at Ken. Hee, all I know is that male thief bro gave us a lot of money. These 2 suitcases are filled with money, right? Ken had become a greedy ghost under Xiaoka's influence. It is money, but why can't I steal it? Xiaoka said, troubled. How did you steal such a big suitcase? I saw with my own eyes that male thief bro gave one to you, the other one is probably the same, right? Ken said. Ken, are you asking for a beating? Xiaoka raged. I won't give you a single cent when we get back, you won't have dinner tonight. No. Ken said helplessly, I'm praising male thief bro, okay? Is that so? Alright, I'll give you dinner then. Xiaoka smiled again. Xiao Ken was speechless. She thought to herself, women who are passionately in love are really stupid. Even the smart sister Xiao Ku has become like this. But luckily, Lin Yi bro was a strong man. With his help, the development of the orphanage was progressing by leaps and bounds, and Xiaoka sis really wasn't losing out by following him. Lin Yi sighed and got into Han Xiaopa's car. Boss, why did she call you a male thief? Is that your nickname? Xiaopa didn't understand the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiaoka. When they were in the car, he didn't dare to say much about Lin Yi. When Yu Xiaoka asked him anything, he only said that he was Lin Yi's follower. It's not really a nickname. It's an identity I used before. She doesn't know I'm Lin Yi, Lin Yi said. I see. Han Xiaopa nodded. He was not a gossipy person. He nodded in understanding and said, Boss, where are we going now? Let's go back. Lin Yi's purpose of coming here had been achieved, so he didn't want to stay any longer. Okay. Han Xiaopa nodded, started the car, and headed toward East Ocean City. What Lin Yi didn't know was that in Donghai Industry University, Pinliang had set up an arena in the school. He even wrote the slogan Love War on the arena. There was an explanation below. I will be Mingyao's personal bodyguard. I hereby challenge all masters. I will stand in the arena and take a beating without fighting back. If anyone can knock me down within 10 minutes, I will give you 1,000 yuan in cash. If you can't knock me down, you will have to pay 1,000 yuan. Of course, you could only use your fists and legs, but you couldn't use any other methods. One had to admit that Pinliang's gimmick was very accurate. Knocking someone down and getting 1,000 yuan for free was the best thing in the world. This was exactly what Pinliang wanted. This way he could establish the fact that he was invincible. Mengyao and Yushu wouldn't be able to object. Pinliang could say that he was the strongest person in the world right now. He was the person who could protect Mengyao the most. No one could knock him down no matter how hard they tried. If he wasn't qualified to be a bodyguard, then who was? Bodyguards didn't just need to be skilled. More importantly, they had to take a beating for their employer at a critical moment. This was an idea. It was an idea that Pinliang came up with after thinking for a whole night. He wasn't as stupid as before. Yushu wouldn't let him go, so he couldn't just sit there and wait. What if Yushu tricked him and extended the inspection period indefinitely? He couldn't wait that long. Lin Yi might have already carried Mengyao to bed by then, and he wouldn't even have the chance. So he had to choose to attack. In the beginning, there were a lot of people who were greedy for the 1,000 yuan that Pinliang offered. From their perspective, if Pinliang didn't fight back, they could just knock him down with a few flying kicks. It wouldn't even take 10 minutes. And so they all signed up to participate. But reality wasn't what they imagined. Pinliang was like a cockroach that couldn't be killed. The punches that landed on him didn't seem to do any damage to him at all. Although it wasn't like punching a rock, after a long time, their fists and feet would still hurt. Pinliang, on the other hand, was still standing there, looking down on the crowd. Some students even kicked Pinliang's crotch, but the result was the same. Pinliang was fine, as if nothing had happened. His leg, on the other hand, was hurting from using too much force. In short, no one could knock Pinliang down within 10 minutes. They couldn't even make Pinliang look like he was in pain. And so, after these people helplessly handed over the 1,000 yuan, the number of people who went up the stage decreased. Although the conditions seemed to be favorable to them, everyone understood that if they didn't have a diamond in the rough, they wouldn't do it. If Zhong Pinliang dared to say something like this, he must be prepared and confident. Mengyao frowned when she saw the news on the school's BBS forum. She was a little annoyed by Pinliang's sensationalism, but Pinliang had done it plenty of times in high school. Shu, why is Pinliang so annoying? Didn't you tell him to wait for the news? Mengyao turned to Yushu. What's wrong with him? Yushu shook her head. Man, Liangzi seems to have gotten smarter. He knows that I might be messing with him, so he's trying to stall for time. Yushu saw through Pinliang's plan immediately. Then what do we do? Mengyao asked. I don't have a choice. We can only wait for Shield Bro. Yushu shook her head helplessly. Aren't you omnipotent, Shu? Why can't you do it now? You're not omnipotent anymore? Plus, do you think Lin Yi can solve it? Isn't Pinliang invincible under Sky Class? Can Lin Yi take care of that golden cicada underwear? Meng Yao asked. Chapter 25:12. Almighty Shu. Yushu thought about it. There's a way actually. Let's just get Elder Pai to punch him and everything will be fine. Elder Pai's a sky class, he won't be able to defend against his attack. That's a good idea, but didn't Elder Pai go back already? Plus, if they let Elder Pai handle this, wouldn't it bring trouble to the Hidden House Pai? Isn't Pinliang from the Everyday and Everyday sect or something? Wouldn't it be a problem if they found out that a master from a hidden house came to the common world? Meng Yao asked worriedly. This wasn't the same as before after all. Last time, it was Elder Pai who came out to save Xinyan from the shadows, and the robbers were either idiots or idiots. This time, however, it was different. They were doing it in front of everyone. Yeah, that's why Almighty Shu isn't omnipotent sometimes. Yushu shrugged helplessly. Actually, it's easy to handle. We just need to ignore him. Ignore him? Meng Yao blinked. Yeah, just ignore him. Yushu said. When Shield Bro comes back, it'd be great if he can beat him, but if he can't, I'll think of a way to change Pinliang's golden cicada underwear, and Shield Bro will be able to beat him. After that, I'll tell him that the previous matches don't count, since we weren't watching. Let him fight Shield Bro again and Shield Bro will win for sure. Shu, it looks like you're not afraid at all. No wonder you're not nervous. Meng Yao sighed in relief after hearing Yushu's words. It's not that I'm not afraid. I'm actually thinking, how can I get Liangzi's good stuff? That iron rod of his is pretty good too. The Shield Bro gets it, ha 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 ha. Yushu said with a wicked smile. Getting it all? That's not a good idea, is it? Meng Yao said worriedly. Will the Everyday and Everyday sect behind him agree? If they don't agree, then let them give Liangzi some more stuff, and we'll get it when he comes back to act cool. Yushu said disapprovingly, Lil Liang is such a good person, giving equipment to Shield Bro. Meng Yao almost burst into laughter at Yushu's words. Pinliang was really unlucky encountering a Zhou Ripper like Shu. Whatever good stuff he brought, he'd lose it all. But Meng Yao didn't sympathize with him. Pinliang had kidnapped her and Shu before and had done a lot of things to harm Lin Yi. How could Meng Yao sympathize with him? Lin Yi got into Han Xiaopa's car and arrived at Donghai Industry University. Lin Yi heard the students talking about Pinliang's arena the moment he parked the car in the parking lot. And Lin Yi naturally paid attention to it. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that Pinliang would use this method to force him to abdicate. It was a lot smarter than before, but with Shu here, would it really work? Let's go and take a look, Lin Yi said to Han Xiaopa. Boss, you have some kind of conflict with this Pinliang? Han Xiaopa got the gist of it. Ah yeah. Meng Yao's pursuer, my high school classmate, Lin Yi said, this guy used to go against me all the time and recently joined the Everyday and Everyday sect. He got himself some mid-class golden cicada underwear, and anyone under sky class won't be afraid anymore. So it's him. Xiaopa understood what Lin Yi was talking abruptly. No wonder Lin Yi was asking about the mid-level golden cicada underwear yesterday. So this was what it was all about. The two followed the crowd to where Pinliang was holding the arena, and saw Pinliang standing on the stage with a proud look on his face. No one went up the stage again, however, as if they knew that it was impossible to defeat Pinliang, and so they just watched the show from below the stage. They wanted to see if there were any idiots coming up to die. Lin Yi, you're back? Pinliang saw Lin Yi in the crowd and yelled excitedly, Lin Yi, come up to the arena since you're back. Don't be a coward. Lin Yi didn't want to go up to the arena immediately, because he didn't know Pinliang's situation, and he didn't want to make a move before he understood Yushu and Meng Yao's intentions. But Pinliang had already yelled out those words. If Lin Yi backed down in front of the crowd, it'd give Pinliang an excuse to force him to abdicate. He'd find Meng Yao and Yushu and say, if Lin Yi doesn't dare fight me, then what right does he have to be your bodyguard? This would put Meng Yao and Yushu in a difficult position. Alright, since you've invited me, I'll come up and try. Lin Yi nodded, and with a leap he landed on the arena Pinliang had built. It was called an arena, but it was just a gymnasium. I'll stand here, you can fight. Pinliang looked at Lin Yi fearlessly, his arms crossed in front of his chest as if he was above all. Fiery 8 trigrams palm, 5th form. Lin Yi didn't use his strongest move right away, since it would consume too much energy. Lin Yi only needed to use the 5th form of Fiery 8 trigrams palm to see if Pinliang was really invincible under Sky class, and if he could defend against Lin Yi's skill, which was equivalent to the 11th form of Sky class. Boom. Lin Yi's palm landed on Pinliang's body, and although Pinliang was unharmed, he was still forced back a few steps by Lin Yi's strength. He barely managed to steady himself and looked at Lin Yi, surprised. Not bad, but it's nothing to me. Pinliang didn't expect Lin Yi's move to be this strong. After all, Lin Yi was the only person who could make him take a few steps back since he came down from the mountain. As for the others, they couldn't do anything to him at all. Basically, all the power was absorbed by the golden cicada undergarment, and Pinliang didn't feel anything. However, Lin Yi's palm did make him take a few steps back, and it was enough to show that Lin Yi was stronger than the others. But Pinliang thought about it. All the people he faced before were Mystic and Golden class, and only Lin Yi was an Earth class, so it made sense that he was stronger. But even an Earth class couldn't do anything to him, right? He had underestimated his opponent, and didn't adjust his stance in time, causing him to take a few steps back. He needed to focus now. Pinliang was surprised, and Lin Yi was even more surprised. One had to know that the 5th form of Lin Yi's fiery 8 trigrams palm was equivalent to the 11th form of Sky class. Chapter 25:13. Lin Yi was shocked that the 11th form had no effect on Pinliang. It seemed like this mid-tier golden cicada underwear was really good stuff. Was it really divided according to strength? He wasn't a Sky class, so even if he used a Sky class skill, he wouldn't be able to hurt Pinliang? Lin Yi wasn't satisfied and didn't answer Pinliang's question. He used his strongest skill, the 7th form of fiery 8 trigrams palm. Boom! Lin Yi's palm landed on Pinliang's chest again, and a strong fire element chi burst out from Lin Yi's palm. Even an early-stage Sky class would be heavily injured if they took a hit from Lin Yi, but Pinliang was only sent flying by Lin Yi. His body flew out of the ring and landed heavily on the ground as Lin Yi's chi exploded. Good. Oh dash, that's great. That's amazing. The audience cheered when they saw Pinliang get knocked down by Lin Yi. There was a saying that went, the experts knew the ropes, while the amateurs enjoyed the show. The students here were all normal people, not practitioners. As far as they were concerned, Lin Yi defeating Zhong Pinliang was a victory for him. And Pinliang had to pay Lin Yi 1,000 yuan as a reward. Of course, although Pinliang was sent flying by Lin Yi knew that Pinliang wasn't injured at all. Other than the fall, he was perfectly fine. He wasn't injured at all. This situation made Lin Yi feel helpless and speechless. Even an early-stage Sky class was no match for him, and Pinliang was just a normal practitioner. He couldn't do anything to him. How sad was this? It seemed like the mid-tier golden cicada underwear protected the opponent's level. As long as he didn't reach Sky class, even if he used a Sky class skill, his strength was still there. He still couldn't do anything to Pinliang. Although most of the people below the stage were cheering, there were also a few who were silent after seeing this scene. That was Tiger Right, Yellow Hair, Purple Hair, Li Biaohan, and the others. Tiger Right, Yellow Hair, and Purple Hair were fine after taking the pill. Li Biaohan, on the other hand, had a cast on his leg and was sitting in a wheelchair, looking very pitiful. He came here to find a sense of balance. He watched others get bullied by Pinliang. His frustration lessened a little, but when he saw that even Lin Yi couldn't do anything to Pinliang, he felt a strong sense of fear. Tiger Right and the others felt the same. They were all practitioners and could naturally tell that Lin Yi was using the 13th form of Sky class skill. Although they were curious as to how a mere Earth class mid-phase peak was able to use the 13th form of the Heaven class, they were even more curious as to why Pinliang wasn't injured at all after being hit by the 13th form. Lin Yi's move was enough to cripple a Sky class early phase or even early phase peak. But Pinliang wasn't injured at all. Other than being sent flying off the stage, he didn't seem to have any other injuries. Kid. Lost, right? Can't take it anymore? Now you know there's always someone better than you? Yeah, hurry up and pay up. You've swallowed so much money before, it's time to pay up. Hurry up and pay up. Be quick. It had to be said that the students were all focused on Pinliang's payout. They didn't care why Pinliang wasn't afraid of the fight, nor did they care if Lin Yi could do anything to him. They just saw that Pinliang lost, so they wanted him to pay up. Pinliang was a little annoyed. He stood up and jumped onto the stage speaking to Lin Yi. No, let's fight again. You're different from the others. It doesn't matter if you beat me, you have to beat me first. What the hell? Are you going to keep your word? You said it yourself, I just have to beat you and I'll get 1,000 kwai. Why's it different now? Yeah. Isn't this a scam? You're so happy when you win, but now you're changing the terms when you lose. Isn't this a scam? Liar, this kid is a liar. Yeah, where's the guy who lost? Let's ask him for a refund. The one who spoke was a sports major student who went up to the stage. He was instigating the people who lost to ask Xiaofu for their money. Sure enough, as soon as he said that, the others responded and surrounded Gao Xiaofu, saying, "Hurry up and refund the money." Xiaofu looked at Pinliang awkwardly. Do you want to get beaten up? Liar, if you don't give us a refund, we'll beat you up and send you to the school leaders. They'll say that you're scamming students. A student said. Yeah, the school will definitely give you demerits. Another student said. Maybe they'll even expel you. Another student added fuel to the fire. Give it back, give it to them. Pinliang said helplessly. He was really afraid that Xiaofu would be at a disadvantage. He wasn't afraid of getting beaten up, but Xiaofu was. What if Xiaofu got beaten up half to death? Although refunding his money was a little embarrassing, it was still better than Xiaofu getting beaten up. He would lose even more face if that happened. Fine, I'll refund your money, Xiaofu said helplessly. He refunded the money to the people who went up to the stage before they let him go. Lin Yi, on the other hand, calculated the pros and cons in his mind and said to Pinliang, I'm sorry, if you want to compete in something else, we can do it another day. I don't have time today. With that, Lin Yi ignored Pinliang and jumped off the stage. Although he knew that he lost the battle, the other students didn't. They saw that Lin Yi had won and defeated Pinliang. This way, Pinliang wouldn't be able to use public opinion to force Mengyao and Yushu on the school's forum. Pinliang was furious, but there was nothing he could do after Lin Yi left. He couldn't force Lin Yi to compete, could he? He couldn't beat Lin Yi up with a stick. It would be fine if there was no one around, but in front of everyone, people would think that he was beating up Xiaofu because he couldn't afford to lose the 1,000 kuai. That would be even more disadvantageous to him. He could only give up. Xiaofu, where's the 1,000 kuai? Lin Yi walked up to Xiaofu after he got off the stage and extended his hand. Xiaofu hesitated. He was afraid of getting beaten up, so he took out the 1,000 kuai and handed it to Lin Yi helplessly. Chapter 25:14. Pinliang wasn't afraid of getting beaten up, but Xiaofu was. One slap from Lin Yi would be enough to kill him. Lin Yi put the 1,000 kuai into his pocket. He didn't care about the money. He only did it to annoy Pinliang a little, making him shoot himself in the foot. It was also a way to cover up his helplessness in losing, in case Pinliang used the opportunity to force Mengyao to abdicate again. Lin Yi took the money and left. Pinliang cursed Lin Yi for being a coward in his heart, but he didn't dare say it out loud in front of everyone. If he did, the students in the audience might start cursing at him. After all, everyone saw that Pinliang had lost, and it was reasonable for Lin Yi to reject his challenge. In their eyes, Pinliang was being shameless. If Pinliang showed even the slightest bit of dissatisfaction, the students might think that he was a sore loser. And so, Pinliang didn't have the face to continue setting up the arena. He quickly packed up with Xiaofu and left the arena under the disdainful gazes of the students. The other students dispersed after the two left, and the commotion died down just as quickly as it started. Some of the nosy students had already uploaded the battle report to the school's BBS forum, and Mengyao and Yushu were the first ones to see the results. Yeah, Shield Bro didn't disappoint us. He beat Pinliang. Yushu said excitedly as she pointed at the post. Mengyao, on the other hand, wasn't as excited as Yushu. She sighed helplessly. It looks like Lin Yi won, but he still lost. Lin Yi really can't do anything to Pinliang with that mid-level golden cicada underwear on? That's true, but Yao Yao, we should be satisfied. This result is much better than I expected. Yushu said. At least Pinliang can't use this to force us to abdicate and become your bodyguard. We don't have to rack our brains to find an excuse to reject him. As long as I steal his treasure, he'll be waiting to be beaten up. Roar, 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 roar. Shu, why do you have such a creepy laugh? Mengyao's hair stood on end from Yushu's laugh. It's been a while since I've messed with people. I'm a little excited now that there's business. Yushu said embarrassedly. Lin Yi's call came in the middle of their conversation. Mengyao picked it up. Lin Yi, you're back? Yeah, I met Zhong Pingliang earlier. Lin Yi said. Mengyao continued before Lin Yi could finish. Yeah, I know. I saw the live broadcast on the school's BBS. You beat him? What do you mean knocked down? If it was someone else, they would have died long ago. He's not injured at all. This mid-grade golden cicada underwear is really strange. Lin Yi said with a bitter smile. Shield Bro, don't worry. Shu will take care of the rest for you. Yushu grabbed the phone and said to Lin Yi. Shield Bro used to be the one protecting me. This time I'm going to protect Shield Bro. You done? Lin Yi blinked. Shu wants to trade Pinliang's mid-grade golden cicada underwear. Mengyao explained Shu's idea to Lin Yi. You can do that? Lin Yi didn't even think of using his low-grade golden cicada underwear to trade Pinliang's commodity one. If it really worked, then Pinliang was really unlucky. Roar, roar, roar. Of course it works. Mengyao mimicked Yushu and laughed evilly. Lin Yi was stunned. Miss, when did Shu infect you? What do you mean infect? We've always been alike, alright? Meng Yao humphed. Alright, I won't bother then. I'll wait for the good news. Lin Yi said. I'll go back first then. I'll pick you guys up tonight. It was the weekend, and although there were people in school, they were all electives. They didn't have to go. Usually when Lin Yi wasn't home, Meng Yao and Yushu would come to school. Meng Yao and Yushu only came to school for class. They wouldn't come if Lin Yi was at home. Lin Yi came to school, but he didn't plan on going to the electives. He just gathered the rainbow steel, pure yellow jade, and blue crystal. It wasn't a big amount, but he wanted to go back and try making the jade space. After all, Lin Yi had been looking forward to this for a long time. Now that he had all the materials, of course he wanted to give it a try. Okay, see you tonight? Meng Yao said. Lin Yi turned around and got into Han Xiaopa's car. Let's go back to the villa in the Shueshang district. Lin Yi said. Okay, boss. Han Xiaopa nodded and started the car. At the same time, Pinliang and Xiaofu escaped to a secluded place and sat down in a pavilion, panting heavily. This was the school's little forest. In the summer, these pavilions were a haven for young people to love, study, and play cards, but in the winter there was no one around. No one was stupid enough to come here in the cold. What a miscalculation! Who would have thought that Lin Yi would come back at this time? Pinliang said angrily. My mid-tier golden cicada undershirt can defend against attacks from practitioners below sky class, but Lin Yi is still an earth class mid-phase peak. He can still send me flying. Yeah, we wouldn't have held this arena if we'd known this would happen. Maybe we could have changed the rules when Lin Yi came instead of letting Lin Yi come up. Xiaofu nodded in agreement. Things were going pretty well at first, and I thought I'd go to Meng Yao and Yushu and force them to let me be their bodyguard. It didn't matter if they were willing or not, as long as I became their bodyguard, everything would be a lot smoother from here on out. Wasn't Lin Yi disliked back then? Pinliang's plan wasn't bad, but there were some problems in implementing it. I wonder if Meng Yao knows about this? Xiaofu hesitated. Liang bro, maybe you should give Yushu a call and see what they're thinking? Maybe they've already seen the situation, or maybe they'll let Lin Yi say something unfavorable to Liang bro. Not bad, that's a good suggestion. Lin Yi's a sly bastard. I need to give Yushu a call and tell her that Lin Yi's shameless act this time. Pinliang quickly took out his phone and called Yushu. Chapter 25:15. Hey Liangzi? What's up? Yushu had just planned out the next step of her plan, and was just thinking about how to trick Pinliang into coming here when Pinliang walked right into her trap. What a nice guy he was. Shu, do you know about the fight between me and Lin Yi? Pinliang asked. Fight? What fight? Yushu pretended not to know and asked confusedly. Haha, it's like this. Pinliang was overjoyed to hear that Yushu didn't know anything about it. He started explaining. I've organized a tournament to see if I'm qualified to be your and Yao Yao's bodyguard, so I made a rule that whoever beats me will get 1,000 kuai as a reward. That's right. Of course, this is only for ordinary people. Cultivators naturally won't work. In that case, I'll definitely have to make a move. Pinliang purposely gave Yushu a heads up, paving the way for what would happen next. However, he didn't expect Yushu to agree with him. Yeah, if you don't fight against a practitioner, then you're an idiot. Yushu added. Yeah. Pinliang smiled bitterly. Did that mean he was an idiot? But in order to smear Lin Yi's name, he didn't care if he was an idiot or not. He continued, but I didn't think that Lin Yi would suddenly come back and beat me up. He even asked me for 1,000 kuai. Don't you think that's infuriating? He's a practitioner, how can he have the same rules as normal people? Isn't that cheating? I asked him to continue fighting with me, but he took the money and left. How shameless. Oh, about that, I got it. Yushu said, Yao sis and I didn't see your fight, so it doesn't count. Even if you want to fight, we have to be there to see it with our own eyes. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Yeah. Pinliang was overjoyed. That's right, that's it. Without the two of you present, the competition doesn't count. He's only acting shamelessly for a while. When the time comes for the real competition, let's see if he can still act shamelessly. But Liang Yi, I don't have time to talk to you right now, I'm busy. Yushu interrupted. Sister Shu, what are you busy with? Pinliang asked. Do you need my help? No need. Yao sis is feeling a little uncomfortable. She seems to have caught a cold and is lying on the bed. I need to take care of her. Yushu said. Yao caught a cold? Are you alright? Pinliang rolled his eyes. Do you need me to go and help? It's fine, it's the girls' dorm, you can't come in. Yushu said. What makes you think I can't? Pinliang curled his lips. He had already found out that the auntie of the female dormitory bullied the weak and feared the strong. He could move unimpeded. There's no need for that, right? It's inconvenient, isn't it? Yushu hesitated. Yao sis is only wearing pajamas. Mengyao glared at Yushu, annoyed. You're the one who made me wear it, aren't you? Besides, my pajamas are very tight, okay? Everything that needs to be covered is covered, and I'm even lying under the blanket. Huh? Pajamas? Pinliang almost drooled when he heard that. But to hide his lustful look, he quickly put on a serious face. What's inconvenient about it? I'm going to be your bodyguard soon. Are you not going to wear pajamas at home in the future? Wait, I'll go right now. No, please don't come. Yushu's tone changed from hesitant to firm. Pinliang, on the other hand, couldn't hear the change in Yushu's tone. Wait for me, I'll go right now. Don't. Please don't come. Yushu hung up with that. Pfft. Mengyao almost burst out laughing when she heard Yushu hang up. Shu, your acting was pretty good, wasn't it? Say it. Are you practicing when you have nothing better to do? Are you trying to seduce Linny? No way. I'm practicing for Yao sis. Yushu stuck her tongue out. For me? What does that have to do with me? Mengyao blushed as she remembered something. She glared at Yushu. Prepare? Pinliang will be here soon. Oh, I'll go prepare. Yushu ran out of the dorm with the basin in her arms. Pinliang, on the other hand, turned to Xiaofu after hanging up. Take these things back and wait for me. I'm going to find Mengyao. Liang bro, you don't need my help? Xiaofu asked carefully. Help my ass. Pinliang glared at Xiaofu. Didn't you hear that Yao is wearing pajamas? What are you going to do? It's a girls' dorm too, why are there so many people? It won't be easy to get in. Oh, okay. Xiaofu didn't really want to see Mengyao in her pajamas. He just wanted to see if there were any other pretty girls in the dorm. Who knows, maybe he'd run into one. But he couldn't do that now. Pinliang wouldn't let him go at all. He could only go back to the dorm with the banners and wait for Pinliang's return. Pinliang said goodbye to Xiaofu and ran towards Mingyao's dorm. He'd gotten Mingyao's room number a long time ago, and when he entered the door, Pinliang told the guard that his girlfriend was sick and needed to be taken care of. He also gave the guard 100 kuai in private, and the guard let him in after confirming that there were no problems with the room number and name Pinliang had given her. Pinliang, on the other hand, ran to Mingyao's dorm. He was about to knock on the door when he realized that it wasn't locked. He was overjoyed. He pushed the door open and rushed in. He had a little bit of hope in his heart. Maybe he'd see some intimate scenes if he rushed in. But the reality was cruel. Pinliang didn't see anything when he entered the dorm. He only felt a basin falling from the sky and splashing dirty water on his face. Fortunately, he reacted fast and dodged it in time. Otherwise, the dirty water would have gone up his neck. What's this? What's going on? Pinliang wiped the dirty water off his face and sneezed, completely confused.